Tonight on the Black Channel, we're going to have a long overdue conversation about assassinations and reparations. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting super fortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel, and I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, tonight we're going to have a bit of a different conversation. I want to let you all know right now, tonight we're going to have a bit of a different discussion that I feel is pertinent and relevant to what we do here. We're going to have a bit of a different discussion, something that usually, I dare to say, in some ways you would hear on other YouTube channels. Not usually the type of fare that you hear here. Usually we go into the socioeconomics of it here, but I want to put a broad, global, historical context onto this. And I may even open up the phone lines because there's been a question that I have, and I would like to see about that. So there may be a question that I have in that regard. So what I want to do here, for those of you who may have missed it, of all people, Benjamin Crump has finally done something useful that we can actually agree with here. He's actually done something useful. And I've always said that the problem is, as black people, we have an absolutely useless judicial class. Our legal class, our attorney class is absolutely useless. In white society, they got white pro bono lawyers all over the place. It doesn't matter whether you are religious, atheist, white supremacist, integrationist, LGBT. There is a legal lawyer out there from a competent firm, some competent legal representation that will be willing to take your case. As black folk, we've got cosmic level issues, and we don't have a competent judicial class. We don't have it. Well, Benjamin Crump is apparently trying to do the best that he can at this point right here. And he has been looking into the investigation. He started doing his own work, investigating into the assassination of Malcolm X. Now that more people are coming forward about that, I want to play this piece from the CBS Evening News.
59 years ago today, Malcolm X was assassinated. And tonight, there are new questions about just who was responsible as two men come forward and point the finger at law enforcement. CBS 2's Dick Brennan here now with more on this. Dick.
Well, Maurice, it's almost mind-boggling to think that an assassination committed nearly 6 decades ago in front of some 400 people, including 9 police informants, is still largely unsolved.
Amazing to think. No, sir, this is black people's experience. Every time you turn around, we getting killed in front of dozens of people, hundreds of people. You can get killed in the damn Super Bowl. Tupac, we can go down the list. Dude, every time an influential black person gets killed, it's in broad daylight, broad public, and it's decades later. Ooh, we don't know who it was. We can't catch him. We can't find him. Jonathan Majors gets accused by a white woman very next week. Jussie Smollett tells a lie very next week. We unravel those things quick. When it's black folk, you can be killed in front of hundreds or thousands of people, and the folks who are supposed to investigate it, ooh, we didn't know nothing happened. We didn't see anything right there. What you mean? Tell us more. Decades later. And then you find out the evidence is sitting right there. They're not saying anything. So the real thing is, who polices the policeman?
And this was a week after Malcolm X's home in Queens had been firebombed, so it was clear he was a target. But we're now learning new details in the case, as tonight we remember Malcolm X 59 years later.
Okay, did you hear the way he said that? So it was clear he was a target. Here's the problem, sir. You're not saying who he was being targeted by. It was clear he was a target. If you do not put that in context, it's just some weird statement to make. The key question here is clear he was a target. Yes, targeted by whom?
But we're now learning new details in the case as tonight we remember Malcolm X 59 years later.
Our father was gunned down as he prepared to speak right here in that location.
Tonight at what is now the Malcolm X and Betty Shabazz Center in Washington Heights, Malcolm's daughter, Ilyasa, spoke of that horrifying day.
My pregnant mother placed her body over my three sisters and me to protect us from gunfire and to shield us from the terror before our eyes.
It's been 59 years since that awful moment at the Audubon Ballroom when gunmen opened fire on Malcolm as he prepared to speak. Two men convicted in the murder were exonerated in 2021, long after serving decades in prison, including Muhammad Aziz, now 85 years old.
If I wanted to do it, I couldn't have done it. So that means they knew what they were doing when they put me in jail.
A third man, Talmadge Hayer, shown here being held by police after the shooting, confessed and always claimed four other men were his accomplices.
And yet they let him walk away scot-free.
Today's civil rights attorney Ben.
So this lets you know right here that, this is the so-called conspiracy. You know, they talk about those, y'all believe them conspiracy theories. Oh, well, here's the conspiracy right here. Yeah, it's not a conspiracy theory. This is a conspiracy fact. I mean, there's your conspirator right there. But then again, he's being protected by the rest of his co-conspirators in the police department. We got to hurry up and get him out of here. He's our man. Oh, he got caught. We got to hurry up and get him out of here. For all the folks who were talking about Mississippi burning, for all the people who talked about Mississippi burning and the idea that white supremacists blatantly murdering and assassinating black folk was just a Southern thing. Then you see Fred Hampton. Then you see Malcolm X. And then you realize, oh, that wasn't just a Southern thing. Not at all. Southern, Northern, Midwestern, Western, West Coast. If you're a black person and you're actually effective, your life is in danger.
Men were his accomplices.
And yet they let him walk away scot-free.
Today's civil rights attorney Ben Crump introduced Khalil Saeed, who said he was on Malcolm X's security team, but he says he was falsely arrested by the NYPD 5 days before the assassination.
I believe I was detained in this conspiracy by the NYPD and FBI in order to ensure Malcolm X's planned assassination would be successful.
While so many originally involved in the case, including prosecutors and witnesses, are now dead, Crump says he's long requested that government officials release files still kept secret, which may help unravel the mystery.
Why don't you release the information? Why don't you release the files?
Because they're guilty.
Release the memos, release the reports, release the surveillance of Malcolm X. 59 years. How long is it going to take for you to come clean?
Demons don't come clean. Demons can be fire hosed and cleaned up, but demons don't come clean. You got to clean the demons up by hand. By the way, yes, I am going to say this right now in front of everyone. Malcolm X had the most ravishingly beautiful daughters, by the way. I've always favored Attila, but he had the most gorgeous daughters, I might say. Talking about 6 decades later, and she looks like that. Something must be going on, but I digress. Actually, I don't. In any case, decades later, you can have this. Decades later, we're still asking these questions decades later because they spent the better part of the last half of a century saying, well, it was the Nation of Islam. Take a look at the Nation of Islam. Look over there with a white corporate media apparatus backing them up every step of the way. Now, how in the hell is it that you have a CBS, an NBC, an ABC, a CNN, a Fox, a headline news and all the rest of these, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Los Angeles Times, the Chicago Tribune, all of these multi-billion with a B, billion-dollar media apparatus, news organizations with practically unlimited resources. And yet, none of them have investigated this. Now, how in the world is that mathematically possible? Because Trayvon Martin, they want to dig into his juvenile records. What? Tamir Rice, they want to know, has he ever committed a crime? And yet, we got the New York Police Department. There is very clear evidence of criminal wrongdoing on their part. New York Times isn't filing court cases, freedom of information, filing lawsuits, no movements here, electing politicians. Nobody's doing nothing. Nobody's doing nothing. All these huge corporate news media apparatus, and they're not moving on this. They're not kicking in doors. They're not shoving cameras. They're not doing exposés. They're not doing that. That's a point I want you to keep in mind is, by the way, that doesn't happen by accident. That's a part of being targeted also. That's a part of being targeted too. You see, the police department and the FBI can't do it by themselves. They got to have help. You've got to have the media organizations that give you cover. You have to have the media organizations that agree, don't ask questions, that agree, don't investigate, that agree, don't sue for information, don't file, don't even talk about it. That's what you got to have. It becomes a whole lot harder, though, when you have a new black media that is bypassing the corporate TV and print outlets and going straight to the soil. It's harder when you do that. It's even harder when you've actually got a black legal class that is willing to file lawsuits and willing to take it to court and willing to do investigations and subpoena people and subpoena records. It's easier when you got that going on. It's easier when that happens. It's a lot easier when that occurs. Everywhere around America, when these white supremacists go off and go shoot somebody, here comes a lawyer parachuting in out of nowhere. Let's go ahead and preserve his right to murder. And yet over here on Black Society's side, you got all of these boule, butt-kissing, ass-kissing niggas. And I said it. All these boule, butt-dancing, butt-kissing house niggas sitting up here talking about they damn fraternities. I'm talking about you, Butterball Martin. Fraternities are a damn joke. Yeah, I said it.
And deal with it, nigga.
The fraternities are a damn joke. Because if y'all were worth a damn, then we would have a legal class of legal scholars coming out of there. We gotta sit up here and go hire white folk, if you can afford it, to do it. Because your so-called fraternities and sororities, when they create a black female lawyer, soror, ski-wee, you get Kamala damn Harris. Damn. Kamala Harris, who went straight to work for the white supremacist society. Went straight to work for them. That's what she did. And she ain't the only damn one. Every time you find one of these sorority female attorneys, she ain't doing nothing for black folk. She's looking for a white corporation to get under or some white ass to kiss, but she's not doing anything for us. She goes in and plugs into their agenda and becomes their agent. You can go to hell with your sororities and fraternities. How the hell you gonna have the AKs and the Alphas and the Greeks or any damn thing else, and every time you turn around you got a Fannie Willis and a Kamala Harris, and then that heifer with the school system out there in Atlanta running a damn prostitution ring. What? That's what they doing with their fraternities. Meanwhile, we got real stuff that needs to be handled and it can't get dealt with. You got a bunch of us out here struggling to survive, much less to get to a level where you can afford that. Because we got to go pay for it. You got kids, been in school, go to law school. First thing they want to do is go out, go find a law firm to go work for so they can stunt and swag. They want to sit up here and go stunting and swag surfing. And meanwhile, the folk are out here dying. First thing they want to do is sit up here and photobomb somebody and take selfies. And meanwhile, this is going on uninterrupted. No, you can go to hell with them. This is an atrocity. All these decades later, this is what happens. And by the way, you didn't have your old black media to say a damn word about it either. I'm looking at you, Ebony, Jet, Essence, Black Enterprise. None of them did that. They were all fighting to get donations. Let me explain to y'all exactly what the hell was going on in case nobody did for you. These folks sat up here in the old dead black media, and what did they do? What was the only thing that they did? Well, when it was time for them to do something, the only thing that they wanted to do was sit up here and go chasing ads. They wanted to go chasing advertising. That's what they did. They chased advertising. They were going around trying to figure out if they could get some ads. They were trying to get the General Motors account. They were trying to get the Walmart account. Boy, I literally spent years listening to Tom Joyner. Boy, and when Tavis Smiley was on there with him, doing backflips, when he finally got Walmart to become a sponsor on his program. If you want to know where Roland Martin learned all that from, he learned it from Tom Joyner, by the way. Ebony, Jet, Tom Joyner, Black Enterprise Magazine. You got a bunch of ads up there from General Motors. And no black people of any significance anywhere, and certainly no black power going on. And Malcolm, we're talking about decades ago. Malcolm's death was not half a century old by then. It wasn't even a quarter century old by then. They sat down and did nothing. With far more resources than us, by the way. Ebony Magazine had far more resources than we do. Hundreds of millions of dollars, way more resources. The New York Times is not just let me explain something. Just get this through your head. The New York Times is not just a television, a newspaper media apparatus. The New York Times files lawsuits, damn it. The New York Times files lawsuits. Now that's not news gathering anymore. That's news making. When you're doing that, they file lawsuits. That doesn't just watch the news. That doesn't just observe events. That influences events. They sit up here. They got some of the best lawyers in America. They got them on the payroll. And when they want to find out about something, the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, Chicago Tribune, Washington Post, shout out Jeff Bezos, well, they put their lawyers to work. Meanwhile, butterball, butt-kissing, butt-dancing Boule Martin. Ain't nothing going on over there. Tom Joyner with his damn geriatric cruise ship party boat. A bunch of millionaire niggas sitting up there, styling and profiling, elderly and out of shape, talking about we're going to the beach. Got a way more resources than any of us. Elderly, broke down, knees don't work right, erectile dysfunction, arthritis, making them look like the damn crypt keeper. And yet, they ain't moved on the legal front yet. I want you to understand, these old niggas got took. All the old niggas who sat there listening to these folk for decades, yo dumb, crusty, old, elderly, nursing home built asses got took. Tom Joyner sat there, grabbed him a chick. Him ain't seen the gym since Jim snapping to a Slim Jim saw him. When he wanted to get married, he married a damn fitness trainer. Talk about opposites attract. Jason, you going in on Tom. Damn Tom. If he had spent as much time investigating this as he did trying to hold on to his damn radio syndication deal and failing. By the way, if he had spent as much time investigating into this as he did trying to preserve his syndication deal and failing to do it, by the way, he would at least have a legacy he could be proud of. The inevitable happened, and now he's got me sitting here putting the boots to him. Well, that was a bright idea for you, wasn't it? You see, what sends a chill through the air is when they see it's not going to be a bunch of niggas just sitting around buying tennis shoes and trying to figure out how to buy a damn Cadillac and go on the damn beach. I was the person who started the practice of showing up on holidays. Wasn't nobody doing it because it wasn't the thing to do, but I truly believe in this. So on the holidays, you ain't gonna find me sitting up here carving no cake or no turkey. You're gonna see me carving up white supremacy, and I'm gonna be right here with all of the faithful. Because you're the true believers too. And we would have got this bull crap straightened out decades ago if we were running the damn thing. Could you imagine Jason Black with the resources of an Ebony magazine, a Jet magazine, a Essence magazine? Could you imagine me with that? Could you imagine some of what we'd be tearing up if we had those type of resources at our disposal? Can you imagine what we'd have today? Can you imagine all the conspiracies and cover-ups that we would have blown the lid off of decades ago? How the hell is it you got an Ebony and a Jet magazine making hundreds of millions of dollars a year? Back in the 80s they were. Not today they ain't. It's a damn comic book today. But back in the 80s they were making hundreds of millions of dollars and wasn't moving for a damn thing for black folk. You can do your 11 issues about Billy D. Williams and Marvin Hagler or whatever's in the news. Okay, I get that. That's cool. That's fine. That's wonderful. You should have one issue that is uncompromising on black people's issues and telling folk what got to be done. You can do 9 or 10 issues of your magazine about the celebrity thing. Okay, we got bills to pay. But then you take some of that money you got over there and you say, okay, we directing this towards something that's dead ass serious. This don't really make money like that. No, it just makes our survival. That's all it does. It just makes our survival. And there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. There's a reason why I'm bringing this up. I'm bringing this up for a specific reason here. Because what happens is the privileged class tends to not say nothing or do nothing until it's their turn for the lynching. In case you hadn't heard, none other than Terrence Howard Now been judged. Oh, they're getting ready to give him the Wesley Snipes treatment. They getting ready to give Terrence the Wesley Snipes treatment. Philadelphia Inquirer. Empire star Terrence Howard hit with nearly $1 million judgment after, now, it wasn't because he said it. So this article is outrageously propagandistic in the way it's stated. This is completely distorting it. After saying it's immoral to tax descendants of slaves, the 54-year-old actor, whose last known address was in Plymouth Meeting, failed to respond to a lawsuit filed in Philadelphia seeking to recoup hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes he owed. A federal judge in Philadelphia, by the way, this is dated February 28th, so just a couple of days ago. A federal judge in Philadelphia has ordered Academy Award-nominated actor Terrence Howard to pay nearly $1 million in back taxes, interest, and penalties after he allegedly threatened a Justice Department lawyer and maintained that it was, quote, immoral for the United States government to charge taxes to the descendants of slaves. Now, let's be clear. He wasn't charged this because he threatened anybody. So this article is trying to give him the Wesley Snipes and the Bill Cosby treatment. Then again, Philadelphia Inquirer. Oh, hell, Bill Cosby. Oh, hell, Bill Cosby. But Terrence Howard said to them, quote, it's immoral for the United States government to charge taxes to the descendants of slaves. For more than a year, the 54-year-old star of the TV hit Empire, whose last listed address was in Plymouth Meeting, rebuffed IRS efforts to collect $578,000 in income taxes it says he failed to pay between 2010 and 2019. Now, technically speaking, it's probably not a whole lot of money compared to what he's supposed to be making if he only owes $500,000 in taxes over the course of 9 years. Wow. Them checks dried up after Iron Man. And despite a months-long effort to engage Howard in court after the Justice Department sued him in 2022, the actor's only response was a voicemail he allegedly left on the phone of the case's lead tax attorney in November. According to a transcript of that message, including court filings, Howard denied owing anything and threatened to shame her by posting the lawsuit against him on the internet. Quote, 400 years of forced labor and never receiving any compensation for it, the actor said in the message. Now you have the gall to try and prosecute and charge taxes to the descendants of a broken people that you are responsible for causing the breakage. The recording cut Howard off mid-sentence, but he called the attorney back to continue. He said, I'm going to finish giving you this work. Quote, in truth, the entire United States should, by default, become the property of the descendants of slaves, he said. But since you do not have the ability or the courage to do it, let's try this in court. We're going to bring you down. Well, I certainly hope it gets that far along. By the way, I want to go down a little bit further here in the article. I'm going to read to you what it says a little bit further down here in the article at the end. Efforts to reach Howard at a number he left on that voicemail and through a lawyer who at one point told Justice Department lawyers that he might represent the actor in the case were unsuccessful Wednesday, but his latest tangle with the government bore a striking resemblance to some of the characters he's portrayed in his dozens of film and TV roles throughout the years. So here comes the Philadelphia Inquirer comparing him to characters he played on TV. In the 2005 film Hustle and Flow, Howard played a pimp and aspiring rapper whose promising music career is interrupted by a prison sentence for assault. The role earned Howard an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. What the hell does that have to do with a damn thing? Okay, what the hell was that for? But they're letting you know, oh, we don't work against the government at the Philadelphia Inquirer. We work with them. We work with them. But I want to remind you all of another thing here. I want to remind you of one more thing. And I'm not going to cast aspersions. I'm not going to do that. But I do want to ask one question here. Terrence, I'm very glad to see that the phrase descendants of slaves has made its way into your vocabulary. I'm just curious where this was a decade ago. What? I'm just a little curious where this was a decade ago. That's all I'm asking. Because you see, we've been stomping these streets now the whole time, and I'm just going to tell it to you all straight like it is. As you all know from recently, I have a number of celebrity friends and acquaintances, and I'm just being straight with you. A lot of them niggas don't say nothing. Some of them gonna be upset with me after tonight. I'm just gonna call it like it is. If you're upset, okay, I guess it is what it is. But y'all niggas don't say nothing. Y'all niggas sit back. All of you sit up here and do your damnedest to avoid talking about racism, white supremacy. You do your damnedest until they finally come knocking on the door for you and be like, yeah, we don't give a damn how much you try to avoid us. We on your ass today. We came to collect. Then all of a sudden you start talking like the field slaves. Then all of a sudden you start talking like us. Now there's what I have an issue with. I'm like, hey, hold on a second. Keep that energy, man. If there ain't no white supremacy and there ain't no issues and you don't use our vocabulary as far as I'm concerned, hey, stay off the block. Stay off the block. Don't sit up here and throw out these dog whistles that's supposed to get us to come running. The folks who done stayed in the streets and stayed on the issues and stayed in the fight and stayed on the job. And then when something happens to you, all of a sudden here you come shaking the banner. That's what I got an issue with. When that happens and that comes up, then all of a sudden you start talking like us. And I'm like, well, I'll be damned. Where has this been for a decade now? Where has this been then? Everybody finds their blackness after the man shows up for them. Okay, where was this before he showed up for you? Where was it then? Am I gonna say it? Y'all, am I gonna say it? Am I gonna potentially kick a beehive here tonight and say it? Terrence, no offense, brother, although I think it is a question worth asking. I couldn't help but notice what your wife, who you divorced, looked like. Damn! No offense, brother. No offense at all. But during the time period, I couldn't help but notice you've been quiet for a damn long time. And I just couldn't help but notice. I just couldn't help but notice that you dudes, when y'all got as much interracial sexual access as you please to have, y'all are quiet as field mice. Y'all give us the ASAP Rocky treatment. When you all got as much interracial sexual access as you want, but the man knocking at your door talking about pay this $1 million to go directly to jail, all of a sudden you don't care about the interracial sex no more. It's like, oh, we found something more important. Well, it's been more important the whole damn time. So let me just say it like it is. For a bunch of you celebrity niggas, all it takes is some non-black sex and y'all niggas get silenced. That's what happens. Soon as they go ahead and slap some non-black sex on you, that's enough to get y'all niggas to all clam up and get quiet.
And deal with it, nigga.
That's all it takes to sew y'all's mouths shut. As long as you got massive interracial sexual access, they got a padlock on your lips. They only speak about us if it's necessary. And even then, they dart in the door and then dart out again. I just couldn't help but notice that when y'all niggas get real quiet about us, there's usually free-floating access to interracial sex floating around. But as soon as that thrill runs out and you don't have that to protect you anymore, next thing you know, now they own you. Now they own you. Now all of a sudden you don't want to talk about that anymore. Now all of a sudden you don't want to be quiet anymore. No, all it takes is a pair of handcuffs to unlock your lips. Now they want to sit up here and black fist it all the way to the damn jailhouse. Where the hell has this been for a decade? Where has it been? I ain't saying you got to sit up here and put on a Malcolm X t-shirt or nothing, but what I am saying is I'll be damned. You niggas act like the new black media don't exist. None of these niggas act like we exist until the day they asses are in a crack, and don't tell me it's about what we talk about. Y'all will sit there with Charlemagne and anybody else talking about nigga all damn day and it ain't no problem. So it must be something different going on over here. It can't be that. It can't be because we're prone to colorful language. It can't be that because y'all line up to go talk to these other folk there who are owned by the white radio establishment and iHeartRadio. And I'm not afraid to say iHeartRadio, and you all have heard me have ads play on iHeartRadio. And yes, I've talked to them, and yes, they know who the hell I am. By the way, all them folks up there at the Breakfast Club and iHeartRadio and the rest of them, yeah, they know who Jason Black is. They damn sure do. They absolutely do. iHeart Corporate knows exactly who I am. I bought advertising with them. I talked to the sales folk. They know who I am. I'm not saying they knew who I was after I talked to them. When I called them, yeah, they knew who I was. Yeah, they knew. Yeah, you're that guy. Well, I'll be, that didn't surprise me. I'm like, yeah, I'll be that guy. Yeah. Couldn't help but notice your personalities ain't saying nothing there. Everybody gets quiet when I say that. Everybody gets quiet when I say that. You'll sit up here and go on their outlets and whatnot and sit up here and stamp your damn feet and giggle it up. But none of them folks are going to protect you or say anything in your damn defense. They're not activists. They're whacktivists. They're not doing what's in anybody's interest except their own and their corporate masters here. Y'all need to start speaking to some folk who got your interests at heart. Let me just say it like it is. No hate. Drink champs ain't saving black folk. What? Let me just say it like it is. Y'all sit up here and go talk to Vlad TV, and that bastard is putting y'all in prison. Every time you turn around, Vlad TV talk to somebody, 6 months later, they doing a life sentence. And it hadn't stopped any of you from going over there. Y'all sit up here and talk to folk and make folks' platforms famous and international and whatnot, and they ain't doing nothing for us. And when you get in trouble, they stop talking about you. When you get in trouble, they stop talking about you. They don't mention your name anymore. Once you get in the bind, they're done speaking on you. But when you have platforms that will make this a normal course of conversation, your people told you to avoid that. Okay, go right ahead. In the chat room, Adam22, they'll sit there and go talk to folks who get them life sentences, locked up, shot, killed, every damn thing else. Then they said they're scared to speak to us. Oh, we don't want to represent that. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'm cool on it. Man, I'm cool on it. I'm all right with that. At this point right now, we're bigger and more influential than most of you anyway, which is perfectly fine by me. But by the way, the time for you to negotiate with us was a decade ago. I'm so glad that we didn't have to wait for Terrence Howard to start talking about what the descendants of the slaves are due. I'm so glad we didn't have to wait till he deemed us fit and worthy of being mentioned. I'm so glad we didn't have to wait for that. The only reason he's saying this is because this came from the soil. We planted the seeds and it grew out the soil, but our celebrity class and our black corporate media class didn't do a damn thing. They didn't lift a finger. They never talked about this. They left us out here. You know why? Because they wanted to have the cover to hide behind to say, oh, well, it's just a bunch of crazy niggas on the internet talking about that. So when they go to their Hollywood parties and whatnot, while they're still waiting around for a call back for their auditions, they can sit up here and plausibly deny us. Oh, well. We have plausible deniability. Oh, I don't know about them niggas on the internet. When if you were smart, you be getting gangster and getting mobbed up with us folks on the internet over here. At least you'd have a support base that's not going to be flaky about it. Hollywood has already got the knives out for you. Your little fan base from the movies don't rock with you for real. The folks who do, we're the only ones who stick around like that. The rest of these folks, this is not a mission to them. This is not a mission for them. In the chat room, you said those Diddy parties. Niggas want to sit up here and get to Hollywood so they can go get their freak off on. They not worried about no descendants of the slaves. They trying to find the descendants of the Beckys. What? That's what they trying to do. Yeah, they don't want to say that over here. That might mess up their interracial sexual access. Got us sitting up here hanging out and swinging by ourselves. Boy, I wonder what we could have done with some of these folks putting attention on this decades ago. I give shout out to Kyrie Irving. At least Kyrie was willing to stand on it, and he was willing to bet on us, and he saw that he bet on the right horse. At least Kyrie was willing to stand 10 toes down and bet on us. He did exactly what he needed to do. I don't need to see him have a Malcolm X jersey. I don't need to see him put up the black fist. All he needed to do was show us that if we stood by him, he would stand firm. He did that. They all got the damn message. When he did that, they all got the damn message. That's all we're looking for. That's what I'm looking for right there. They got the damn message. We can just let it sit like that. You got other folks out here, they are completely retired from what the hell they do. And they are showing you that they were never with it in the first place. So I'm like, okay, when things go bad, don't come hollering for us. When things go bad, don't come hollering for us. I'm going to say it right now tonight. Michael Jordan, I hope you enjoyed the money, because we taking a look at your son and it's very obvious your fortune and your wealth and your empire and your legacy is not gonna make it past the next generation. You might as well sit there like King Midas and lament and cry that it's gonna go up in smoke, because as soon as you're gone, it's gone. Your son has already telegraphed to the world that your fortune and your legacy isn't going to survive you. When you're gone, it's gone. I said it. You might as well go ahead now and do all the damn Cheerios commercials that you can, because your son has already made it clear to the world he ain't gonna do nothing to preserve your legacy. Not a thing. Not only is he unwilling to do it, even if he were willing to do it, he is incompetent and unable to do it. And you don't have a black support base that will make sure that it survives. As soon as they can, they're going to find somebody else who puts up better stats, better scores, better numbers, and to replace you with. That's all it's going to be. While you spent your life trying to convince the world that you weren't black, congratulations, you did. And your son has taken that to heart. Your son has taken it to heart. So congratulations, you narcissistic, self-centered, conceited buffoons. Your legacy is already spoken for. In your lifetime, you didn't even get to die before we all saw what was going to happen to you. Most people get to die before they see their children fail them. I'm not going on a rant. Most people get to die before they see their children fail them. Michael Jordan didn't even get the mercy of being able to die before he sees what's going to happen. And it's too late to change it. At least you could have had black people as a group. At least if your son was going to disappoint you, you could have at least had black people as a group still be able to support you. Shout out Dr. John Henrik Clark. Shout out Brother Khalid Muhammad. Yes, I said it. Even if their children have grown to be disappointments, at least these men's work and their legacy they know has been lionized and idolized by the people. So your legacy is not in the hands of your biological heirs, because all of us are your heirs. That's why your children have been unable to besmirch or tarnish your image or your legacy, because we have all taken you in as ours. Ain't none of us took in Michael Jordan as ours. He's a nigga on the island by himself. And he's sitting there watching as a white woman. Yes, I'm saying it's relevant. She white. Yes, it is. A white woman, insult added to injury, formerly married to Scottie Pippen and still carrying his damn name. Damn! So let me get this straight, Michael. You ain't worried about black folk. Got it. Your son picked it up off of you. Got it. He went and found a white woman who's carrying your arch nemesis last name and said, Daddy, get ready to have your legacy totally screwed up. Because you have no respect for black people and your son's got no respect for you. That he would do something like that. He sat up here and found the single biggest, most mocking, insulting, humiliating, embarrassing, degrading thing he could imagine to do, and brought her right up in your house and said, hey, Daddy, you know, you're this the chick here that Scottie Pippen was swag surfing them thighs for 20 years, Daddy. Now I'm taking his sloppy thirds. And guess what? We one click away from having some kids here, Dad. So you and Scottie Pippen are going to be related by genetics, if not by blood. Yeah, once I get finished dropping the load for her, there goes your legacy. You all thought you had stressful situations floating around. I'll be damned. Michael Jordan may live to see his grandchildren share blood with Scottie Pippen's children.
And deal with it, nigga.
He may live long enough to see that happen. If his son has a oops baby, Michael Jordan could live long enough to see his family sharing blood with Scottie Pippen's. So I guess they better go ahead and reconcile this and share this sister wife over here. And that's going to be your legacy, Michael Jordan. So don't worry about black folk. We good over here. We got it over here. We handling it over here. Not sure if you can say the same thing, but we got it handled over here. The reason why we are inundated and saturated with cover-ups and assassinations is because we have lacked a class of people here who get involved in the things that actually matter. When you have a news media apparatus, they're supposed to conduct investigations. They're supposed to be using the First Amendment, the freedom of the press. And they don't do that. Ours sit up here and try to figure out how to become celebrities. They trying to figure out how to get famous. Most of you cannot name the family that owns the New York Times, or the one that used to own the LA Times. And that's actually a good thing, because that tells you what their focus and their discipline is. They are disciplined. The people who own those news outlets are not famous. The work they do is, and that's what it's supposed to be. That's why you can't really assassinate their people like that, because as soon as you cock the gun, they got somebody with a camera and a microphone in your face. Why are you cocking that gun? They're all over you. They're investigating. They're asking questions. They're filing lawsuits. They're getting Freedom of Information Acts. They're turning over every stone and turning over every leaf. They're watching everything going on. In the chat room, Telemundo, Univision. The Spanish-speaking community has real, serious news organizations with real, serious investigative units. Black folk, goddamn me, BET. What? And you got News One that has done everything humanly imaginable to divorce itself from black society. That's what they got. They've done everything humanly imaginable to divorce themselves from the rest of us. No wonder the cover-ups can go on for damn me decades. No wonder. That's why it can occur and go on for decade after decade. And that's why it's going to be incumbent on you and me and us and we to stop that vicious cycle. I wanted to talk to you tonight about the cover-ups and the murder of Malcolm X, assassination and the need for reparations, because the fact that we have to sit around for 6 decades is your proof that chattel slavery continues. That's my point. The fact that you can sit up here and stonewall and continue the cover-up for 6 decades, if you are continuing the cover-up, then you are continuing the debt that you owe us. If you can continue the cover-up, then you're also continuing the accruing of the debt on the accruing of the interest on the debt that you owe us. Why are we telling you that the meter is still running for what you owe for reparations? Because you are still continuing the oppression. That's why. Well, that stuff was so long ago. If it was so long ago, why are you continuing the cover-up today? Well, we didn't have anything to do with it. I'm glad to hear that. If you didn't have anything to do with it, why are you continuing to protect the cover-up today? If you got nothing to do with it. You tell me you have nothing to do with it, then you turn right around and tell me, but we need to continue this cover-up. Well, no. If you're continuing the cover-up, then you are a participant. If you have accepted inheriting the cover-up and maintaining it, then you are no longer a passive observer. You are now an active participant. And now you are liable. So therefore, thank you very much for hitting the renewal button on that debt. Now we will just continue the compounding interest. You can either give it up or you can sit here till it crushes you. One or the other. I know we've been starting it hot here tonight, but I'm just getting smoking. I got a few things I want to discuss in particular here. And we're going to do that right after this very brief commercial, non-commercial break. Before we do, I want to thank my man, Mr. Richburg. Thank you very much for supporting tonight's program on PayPal. For Mark B., thank you very much for your support as well. We appreciate that also. And my t-shirts and more, thank you very much for your support as well. We appreciate that. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, I have a question I want to ask all of you. I have a question that I want to ask all of you when we come back from this commercial, non-commercial break. And I'd like to get your insight and your input into it. And I may open the phone lines for it, which kind of shows you the interest I have in it. We'll find out here shortly. This is The Black Channel.
Hello, my name is Steve Burgess, and I'm the author of this book, Guidelines for the Successful Student, a closer look at parenting your school-aged child. In this book, I've explained the role of the parent and the student in addition to what accommodations, procedures, rewards and consequences and expectations that need to be in place to ensure student success from primary to high school. This book is available on Amazon.com. For more information, please visit my link tree at Easy One-on-One, and to access my latest podcast, A Teaching Moment with Mr. B. Thank you all for listening.
A white supremacist assassin seeks revenge. Corrupt FBI agents with evil intentions. Dangerous black collaborators dedicated to treason. Occam Jeffers must defeat them all and somehow survive. One misstep and he's a dead man. Join Occam Jeffers as he looks the devil in his blue eyes and tells him, Black first. A sequel to the underground hit War of the Heart, Spirit of 1811 Publishing presents God Love Us, on sale at Amazon. Pre-order and save today. Visit spiritOf1811publishing.com and show your love.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' natural body butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all this evening here. A very brief reminder, YouTube has disabled monetization on my YouTube channels there, so of course we are under threat and under attack as always. They want to go after the money. They don't disable anybody else's monetization, but look, it goes with the territory. So I want to thank everyone who has contributed supporting the program on Venmo, PayPal. Thank you very much for your support there. It's, as always, it's appreciated for what we do. And I want to ask a question here tonight. I want to ask a question that I think is relevant and germane as far as what we do as a people and how we see ourselves as a people. I asked a question on Twitter earlier this week. I asked a question, and the question that I asked was, can you name for me the great non-European colonial nations? I want to know who the great non-European colonizers are. Is there anybody out there who didn't come from Europe, who established a great colonization movement? That's the question I'm asking. And it really connects to what we're talking about here tonight. I know it seems a little bit off the beaten path from what I usually discuss, or the subjects I usually talk about, but I'm going to open the telephone lines. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the blackest radio program in existence, the only one of its kind on planet Earth today. As always, you are welcome to join us. If we're going to talk about reparations, if we're going to talk about cover-ups and assassinations, I thought it would also be apropos to talk about colonization as well. Now, you got some folks who talk about the Mongolians. I'm really wondering, what is your definition of a great colonial power? So you got folks who say that, but I'm like, what is your definition of a great colonial power, if that's what you're saying? The Romans had an empire, but I don't think we call them a great colonization empire. I don't think we call them a great colonial effort. I don't think we'd say that. I'm just wondering what some folks are defining as that. But by the way, you definitely are allowed to give me a call about that if you want to here. The telephone number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. And I wanted to have a conversation about that as well, because going forward here, when you talk about why it is that we focus on certain folks here and why it is that these are ongoing things, is because it goes back a whole lot further. It goes back a whole lot further. Let me go ahead and get a caller from area code 702. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, my name is Knowledge. I'm calling from Las Vegas.
All right, Knowledge out of Las Vegas. What's on your mind?
I just have one question. I'm just kind of curious because I was under the impression that Johnny Cochran was putting together a team of lawyers to sue the government for reparations. Why hasn't that moved forward? And why hasn't
your guess is as good as ours? Your guess is as good as ours. Yes, I remember it. Yes, I know it. Jason, what happened to it? He died. It died. So what happened to it? Your guess is as good as ours.
Can foundationals sue the government? Is that a possibility? Or because I hear of these different lawsuits that go around that end up shot down in court. Do you think it would be a success if it was presented to the court?
Well, absolutely. Eventually, you are going to have that happen. That's the whole point of it. Eventually, you are going to have a win, and every victory fuels the next victory. So, of course, naturally you would. The real thing is, okay, where will you have it? Remember, gays didn't get anything until they got the court to give it to them in California. So eventually they found a place there. Now, there's other places that fought against it, and then next thing you know, here comes the Supreme Court in. But all things being equal there, yeah, it would happen. But what you're lacking is a competent, capable, legal judiciary class. That's what we're lacking. We're lacking that. Gays had lawyers who would take their cases pro bono and take it all the way to the Supreme Court, federal court, state Supreme Court. They had a legal class that would do that. We don't have that. You had Johnny Cochran, and then next thing you know, he's gone under mysterious circumstances. So that's the part that's missing. It's not that we don't need it. It's not that they don't know that we need it. We have to come to grips with the fact that as black folk, we have an HBCU disease. We have a HBCU alumni disease. Jason, what are you referring to here? You notice that when it comes to Harvard's endowments and Yale's endowments and Stanford's endowments, their students, the ones who've graduated and left, they see such a value in it that they contribute to it long after they, quote unquote, have left the school. And you see this come down through the athletes as well. The athletes, one of the reasons why they've let their name, image, and likeness sit up here and be exploited by the colleges they went to while they received not a dime was because, well, that feeling of allegiance to the institution itself. Okay, but what tends to happen with black folk is once we get on, it's like, okay, it's all about me. Let me get a house in the suburbs and a fly car and pull as many females as we can and damn the rest of everybody else. If I left there, oh, well, I ain't got to contribute to that. And that's what we end up with. We end up with that.
Understood. One last question, and I'll land my plane. Instead of, would it be more advantageous for us to put together that that team of lawyers, as opposed to trying to get one of our bootlicking politicians to move forward with a bill or something?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, there's a reason why they taught you in school you have the three branches of government, the executive, the judicial, and the legislative. But they're all three independent branches that each have powers of their own. Now, there are checks and balances, but they have powers of their own. So Congress can pass a law, and the Supreme Court, if you can't get Congress to move, you might be able to get the Supreme Court to overrule what Congress has done. So yeah, under the right circumstances, you can, but you don't get any of what you're talking about done until you have judicial operatives, lawyers, legal operatives who are willing to take up your agenda, because you can't file a lawsuit. I mean, even if you got to the point of filing it, you could never defend it because you don't know how. I mean, you literally would not make it past your first instance in court. You wouldn't make it past it. And there's the part that is embarrassing and humiliating about it. So that's the part that needs to be fixed. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. That's the part that needs to be fixed. That's the issue that needs to be fixed right there. It's not enough to just say, okay, we understand that and we see that. The real question becomes, okay, who are the operatives who take that up? Who are the ones who take that up? And you got to wait all this time for Benjamin Crump to finally decide he wants to do something. And while he might not necessarily be the preferred mode of travel for anybody here, by the way, I'll give credit where credit is due. Well, at least he's trying there, but I'll be damned. You should have literally a battalion of black lawyers working in every state of the union. Folks, we should have 5 or 6 attorneys currently working on Wilmington, North Carolina. We should have 5 or a decade ago. That whole thing is supposed to be ours, up one side and down the other, and yet it ain't. Now, what is any possible justification for that? There isn't. And when you got the librarian up there who is trying to conceal the documents, you're supposed to have them in court all day, every day, until you've shaken them away from that. And then the court cases are what lead to the political precedents that they got the city spending up money in court. That's what gets the white supremacist politicians out the paint, because they're wasting resources. Yes, YouTube is real upset right now. They always do this when we're laying down the heat, but we ain't gonna stop doing this so they can be as mad as they want to be. Caller from area code 206, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Agnes calling from Seattle, Washington.
Agnes from Seattle, what's on your mind?
Hi, I wanted to answer your question about naming a non-European colonial power, the most recent of which is Japan. Right before Japan is the only country in recent times.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Can you compare?
Yes, I'm listening.
Can you compare Japan's intra-Asian foreign adventures to Spain, France,
yes,
Britain?
Yes.
Okay, how
Yes.
so?
The Japanese Navy, the Japanese Imperial Navy.
Okay, where did they go, man? That they grabbed and held.
They grabbed and held the Philippines, which was an
Okay,
American colony.
okay, thank you. That's why I said, other than their intra-Asian foreign adventures, what did they do? So, because that's not a comparison to France, the Belgians. That's not a comparison to Britain. That's not a comparison to them. So, other than jumping across the water and beating up on a few of their Asian neighbors, what else?
Okay, I see your point.
And they certainly didn't hold it. By the way, not only did they not do anything except go across the river, they didn't even get to hold it. So how do we classify that as a great colonial power? All 3 days of it? So first they didn't go very far, they didn't grab very much, and they didn't hold it for very long. That's not colonization.
No, but they did give.
But that's not colonization.
Well, that's true.
Okay, tell me how many places changed their language. Let me just go ahead and take that one factor alone. For all the folks who want to talk about Ethiopia and Japan and the Mongolians, how many places changed their language because of the Japanese?
Korea. The Koreans had to speak Japanese. And the Koreans had to change over to Japanese names.
Okay. Oh, I would dispute that, actually, ma'am. I would actually dispute that. But once again, even if I gave you that point, once again, that's beating up on your Asian neighbors. But by the way, okay, they speak, even if you say they can speak that, other than that, what do you got? What do the Japanese run there? What are the cultural holdovers of Japan that are still loyal to Japan?
Well, they did leave the railroads in northeastern China, Manchuria, what was then called Manchuria. They left the railroads, and the Japanese businesses do hold a considerable portion of holdings in what's now known as that part of China, right around Harbin. Also on the present-day Korean peninsula, whether it's North or South Korea, and also in the Sakhalin Peninsula, they still hold considerable natural resource deposits. Also in present-day Taiwan as well. There's a lot of significant business holdings to this day.
Okay, business holdings, ma'am. That's business, ma'am. This is, folks. People, I would really like you all to. Okay, ma'am, knock it off. I'd really like for you all to, the colonization is a word that has a meaning. This is not about some dalliance that you had. When we talk about colonization, we're talking about you become an adjunct to these people. So folks are trying to spread that out to make it something way beyond that. Does what you're describing, England didn't consider that colonization. Nobody does. So yeah, that's what I mean is that you can have a couple of flirtations with a few people. Everybody's here talking about what happened in Asia. They can't talk about anything that happened outside of that because there isn't. And while I'm not saying that somebody didn't go off and go try to empire build or whatever like that. Yeah, but that's not colonizing. That's not colonizing. Colonizing is what they got. You take it and it's yours. And now the language, the culture, the holidays, these people, hell, you got these folks seeing themselves as being like you. Koreans don't see themselves as Japanese. You can sit up here and try to flaunt some dialect about it or whatnot. Korean language and Japanese language are not the same. However, even if you wanted to try to make that leap, Koreans don't see themselves as Japanese, nor do they see themselves as having any allegiance to Japan. Anybody who's been there for 5 minutes will see, yeah, these are not Japanese people. Hell, take a look at the way their government acts. These are not Japanese people. Not at all. So while once upon a time, Japan might have done some trespassing. Okay, Japan may have been doing some trespassing on their neighbors from time to time. Sure, Japan was real good about that, but that wasn't colonizing. Russia isn't colonizing Ukraine today. They're expanding their borders, but that's not colonization. Colonization is when you skip over, is one example of colonization is skipping over huge amounts of land to go to a specific place. For example, Christopher Columbus, we skipped over a whole bunch of stuff to end up in the Bahamas. He had a specific place, a specific goal, and we taking this over. I claim this land for Spain. Yeah, you skipped over everything else. Yeah, that's the way colonization works. That's why when we talk about going to Mars, they refer to that as colonization. You skip right over the moon, went to Mars. And when you get to Mars, you're like, this will belong to us. That is not what Korea is today. And that wasn't what Japan was trying to do. But even if they were, that's still in the local neighborhood. That would go under expanding your borders, but that would not go under colonization. Colonization has a specific definition, so it seems like a nuance, but it's actually not. The only folks that I can think of who did true colonization were the Europeans. But if anybody can name for me a group that established that became a great colonial power, not somebody who infringed on their neighbor's borders. They became a great colonial power. Let me know. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. And folks, do not talk over the host. It's never a good idea. It's not about finding somebody who expanded their borders other than the Europeans who established a great colonial power. Who established that? Call from area code 424. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Call from area code 424. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh, hi, Jason. My name is Paul. I'm sorry, I messed up. I'm calling from Covina, California.
Okay, Paul from Covina. What's on your mind?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to touch base regarding what you were saying as far as colonization. No, from what I've seen and researched and studied and come across in my years, there's no other example outside of Europeans that would follow that colonial settler model. And you even see it right now in Israel. That's a perfect example. They went in and they colonized in Palestine. They used that European mandate because the British and actually the rest of Europe sent them over there because they didn't want them, just if you look at it historically, and that's what's up there. The previous caller had me for a second with Japan, but I totally agree with you. That was when you break it down, it was a strict resource play. They wanted those colonies just for the slave labor and for the oil, the coal, the food sources that they didn't have that are native to Japan. And the other thing that I would add is there's always an element of white supremacy is a key part of the concept of white supremacy is a key part of the settler colonial model. And I believe it really stems from the Roman Empire. That spirit that they had about themselves to the point where that the Mediterranean was a Roman lake back in their day, that I wouldn't even say it went dormant. It actually laid there going through Roman Catholicism and then reappearing when Europe moved into the nation state status that they did. The Reformation came.
Yeah, but here's the reason why you heard me mention the Romans before and move from it. You can't truly, certainly you can consider them a great empire, but an empire is confined to one geographic location. Now, an empire can expand its influence through colonization. Absolutely. But an empire doesn't have to have colonies, certainly doesn't have to have colonies outside of its geographic area to be an empire. The reason why I use the specific phrase great colonial powers is because that is the phrase that they use. They use the phrase great colonial powers in order to distinguish themselves from just a run-of-the-mill knockoff penny-any empire. They're like, we're not just an empire, we're a great colonial power. And the reason why we recognize that is because they were global in reach. They weren't just in their part of the world. They went into other hemispheres. You can't say that about China, Japan, Ethiopia.
Very true.
You can't say that about any of them. At best, you can only accuse them of the same thing that empires and kingdoms have done from time immemorial, stretching out their borders. But none of them said, you know what? We live in Southern Africa. Let's see what's popping over here in South America. Let's concentrate our efforts into taking that over. They would have told you you're stupid and silly. We're gonna finish taking over where we at over here. We ain't worried about what's going on over there.
Let me run this past you before I don't want to take up too much of your time. Would you tie to it also, because this runs through, it's a recurring theme of what I see of, like you said, of colonial powers. Genocide is invariably a part of it. It's not just, and it was just running through my mind, the Romans weren't looking to genocide anybody. They were just looking to get in there and tax that ass.
War was the economy.
Go along with them,
Roads were the technology of Rome, and war was the economy of Rome. Rome's economy was warfare. So folks shouldn't get it twisted about what they were doing. Alexander the Great, same thing. War was the economy. Hell, it still is today, as a matter of fact. It still is today.
Man, I wondered, do you think that this nation picked up that spirit, that Roman spirit? I think that's a key
picked it up.
Look at the iconography.
Dude, picked it up my ass. America is literally, Rome is the matrix of America. America is literally a reincarnation of it from the Senate. We have a Senate.
Yes.
It's basically, it was modeled directly off of Rome. America, Thomas Jefferson, George Wallace, and the rest of them, they sat down and specifically said, we are going to model our government that we're going to set up in America is going to be modeled after the Roman government. So yes, from the eagle to the Senate to the basically, I'd be here all day naming the parts of it. Y'all get the idea. How Washington, D.C. is set up geographically.
Jason, I wanted to throw it out to you. I'm a native of D.C. So, yes, it's all over the place. You see it like half my relatives work at the Capitol. It's all over the place. And I just didn't draw the full picture until, like I said, when you start to really put the picture together. You're 100%. It's absolutely, no doubt about it.
So when you consider that, then you also consider that they've taken on the legacy of Rome. Think about that for a few moments.
I'm gonna let you go because I don't want to monopolize the show, but let me run this past you. What do you think about as Rome moved from being a republic into the age of the emperors? Do you think that that's I'm not saying nothing is cast in stone, but I do believe that we're coming up on over the next several years between now and say 2026, where the model will be shifting. There will be a lot of things that are moving around. Do you think that that's a possibility that we might move into, like, say, the imperial American phase, like Rome moved into that kind of?
No, I mean, America has already been through its imperial phase. It's already been through that. I mean, that's what when you had from Thomas Jefferson until George H.W. Bush, America was an unabashed imperial society right up until then. You go into Iraq and the rest of the world is like, hey, what you doing, Mr. Empire? So all of a sudden the spotlight is on you. But if you take a look at that, for example, like there are little things that people don't really think about. There are little things that you all don't think about. Like when you talk about the states, when did Hawaii become a state, everyone.
That was in the 1890s, right?
No, sir.
When was that? Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was, excuse me, I'm sorry. That was in my lifetime. Or a little bit before, like in 1950s, right? 50? I'm guessing. Stop. Tell me.
1959.
There we go. Yeah, and I was born in 60.
And
so,
by
yeah,
the way, there's a number
almost.
of states that became states within the 20th century. So what I'm saying is, by the way, in case y'all didn't know, for many of you within your lifetimes, or certainly within your parents' lifetime, the American empire has been building itself out within your lifetime.
Well, you know what I'm thinking, though? What I'm wondering is, okay, so we've done that, but we still have, like, the Senate, the House, and that sort of thing. But I'm wondering, like, is there going to be a thing where, like, Julius Caesar kind of situation, where it switches from being one thing to being like, hey, like, we still are kind of doing this, but we actually have an emperor, to be short about it.
Well, you're talking about an emperor. Here's the issue.
Yeah, that's what, right.
A sophisticated organism evolves.
Right.
Everyone talked about Julius Caesar, but do you realize what happened to Julius Caesar?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, what you've really identified is a fault. There's a flaw in that. When you have one man, he becomes easily targeted. The reason the American empire has been so strong is because it has an oligarchy.
Right.
And that's much stronger, because an oligarchy can do something that a dictator cannot do. It can be invisible. It can be invisible, and it can keep running things. So a single dictator, he can be targeted, not just from people from without, but more importantly by people from within. But a oligarchy, an aristocracy, a plutocracy, they can go across centuries, across millennia, because they are not beholden to a political party or political movement. They are beholden to their interests. And remember, we have no permanent friends. We have no permanent enemies, only permanent interests.
No lie. And they see that emperor being, that would be they know that's a fatal flaw, and they won't do it. You're right. Yeah.
When you get smart, you start adapting a government to have something that's stronger.
Yep.
And what we've seen across the centuries is, did you notice that America's interests have not changed? Furthermore, neither have Britain's. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get call from area code 812. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, good evening, Big Brother Jason. This is Brother Elijah calling out of Kingston, Jamaica.
Okay, he's done left Ghana to go to Jamaica. All right, I guess that makes a little more sense. Huh? He stays somewhere every couple of weeks. Boy, your frequent flyer miles must be out of this damn world. Anyway, what's on your mind?
Yes, sir. No, brother. I got an answer, and then I have a question. The answer is absolutely not. There is no other great colonial power outside the European, and I say great loosely. No, because all the points you brought up, they line up with everything. We're the only Black people, particularly here on the Western Hemisphere, whether here in America or in the Caribbean, hell, in Africa, we're speaking the actual languages of our colonizers. But the biggest one of all is England. So because of that factor alone, no other group can claim what England can claim, how they dominated most of the world. Heck, even in Hong Kong, China, that's a former English colony. So to answer your question, nobody.
I mean, okay, let's talk about that one for a few moments there. Let's talk about that for a few moments. Okay, listen very closely, Agnes.
Yes,
Agnes in Seattle,
yes,
listen very closely, ma'am. Okay, let's talk about Hong Kong. So the British hold that thing for a century. The Chinese are sitting around over the course of that century with bated breath, gnashing their teeth, getting ready for a fight, expecting the British not to give it up, and the British did. What did the Chinese run into after a century? They ran into a place that saw itself as British subjects. They ran into a place that saw themselves was very comfortable with the British Union Jack. They saw themselves in a place that was extremely comfortable with capitalism, free speech, very comfortable with white iconography. You have a place here that identified with the English language, English business, the English business culture, not the Chinese culture, the English business culture, to the point that those folks are still fighting them to this day to hold on to the way that things have been. That's the difference. You ain't seen that in Taiwan with the Japanese, Korea with the Japanese, anywhere else with the Japanese. You haven't seen that. Them folks, as soon as the Japanese cleared out, you gone. But that's not what you're seeing here.
Yes, sir.
And now you got me playing in the background. Thank you for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 908. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Is that me? Hello?
Caller from area code 251. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Is
that me? Okay, we got another dumbass with their speakers on. Folks, if your speakers are on or if you aren't listening when I call you, the night is over for you. Caller from area code 720. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Brother Jason? This is Anubis calling out of Denver.
Anubis out of Denver. What's on your mind?
Well, it's interesting today, and I didn't listen to the whole broadcast. I just got home with Sister Vicki Dillard and some few other community members. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was in the building, and Sister Vicki and a few others hit him with some questions about reparations. And, man, you should have saw how they were squirming and wiggling and saying that cut the time because he's got to go somewhere else. And it was just very interesting to see. And what he was really saying was Congress, bipartisan, it would just never pass, the whole reparations thing. So I wanted to get your take on what he was or on what that is, as far as Congress and, how we could actually get that passed and all that good stuff, or even if it needs to be passed, if it's just something that they can, get done for us like they do everybody else.
Okay, well, as far as that's concerned, that's irrelevant. Nobody makes that argument about LGBT today. Nobody asks you whether a state or Congress is, quote, in favor of it or how they feel about it. It's only when illegal aliens, nobody's asking them that. These folks get up here and make those decisions. It's only when we show up that all of a sudden, well, it ain't politically feasible. Nobody else gets the it's not politically feasible talk. Furthermore, that doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is because that is no excuse for your elected representative that you've elected not to represent your interests. His job is to represent your interests, not to represent, well, I don't feel that it's likely to pass with these other folk. I don't give a damn if you're the only representative in Congress. If I sent you there, your job is to be my spokesperson. And if this is the issue that I want you to talk about, if you're the only one voting for it, if you're the only one speaking on it, I don't care if everybody else is talking about anything else. When folks come up to you, you should be speaking on my interests. Otherwise, what the hell is the point of me choosing you as my representative if you're telling me you won't represent me? Well, if the legislation don't pass, whether it passes or not, you should be speaking on my behalf. There's no excuse for you not representing my interests, regardless of what the legislative vote does. And then it is by you speaking our interests that gets the national narrative going that makes legislation possible. No legislation just came out of nowhere except that which was paid for by the oligarchs. Everything else, you had to advocate for it. When you started, quote unquote, nobody wants it. You kept at it a while, you people are just badgering and annoying. You kept at it longer. There's some folks who are listening to this garbage y'all saying. You kept at it longer, boy, 10-15% of the population is with you now. And at that point, it's only a matter of time before it becomes legislation. So if you're telling me that we can't even have the conversation, what you're saying is, yeah, I'm trying to prevent you from getting that 10%. Far as I'm concerned, then you should get 0% of my vote. Your job is not to guarantee me legislation. Your job is to guarantee me representation, regardless of what anybody else is saying. Remember, not speaking on our behalf was their excuse for allowing slavery to go on as long as it did. We got slavery out of here when you had more people who were not afraid to speak up against it, because remember, it was illegal to talk against it. Certainly in the southern states, certainly if you were black, it was illegal to even speak on it, to even advocate in your own interests. So don't let anybody tell you that we can't promote this because the other folk won't vote for it. That's no excuse for him asking for your vote and then talking about he's not going to represent it. You want my vote? You are going to commit to representing it. I didn't ask you to do a straw man vote. I didn't ask you to try to predict what the straw man vote will be. I told you to represent my interests. I'll let you have the last word.
It's very interesting that you say that, Brother Jason, because Sister Vicky had him so shook that he literally came out and said basically that he's not there to represent the people. He has
well, that tells you what in the world to do then.
Do what's in his heart.
When somebody says that, they're done. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get called from area code 832. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, this is Jonathan from Houston, Texas, calling out of Mobile, Alabama.
All right, Jonathan, out of Houston, what's on your mind?
So keep in mind, when we talk about great colonial powers, Europe was really the only place where it was a collection of powers, a collection of nations, as opposed to just one big power, one big empire expanding outward. These were all individual nations, France, England, Germany, all these places that had colonies. And when you look at European history, these powers were
They were for the most part empires. If they didn't call themselves empire, British Empire, they certainly relegated themselves as that, France, Spain. So no, you're dealing with a collection of empires.
Yeah, but they were all united in that one purpose of perpetuating their own. What I'm saying is it's all connected with the white supremacy power structure that dominates this,
Okay, but they were competing against each other. Actually, they were fighting wars against each other. So that statement you just made is actually factually inaccurate.
Yes, sir.
They were fighting wars against each other. I'm from Louisiana, so I can tell you they were fighting wars against each other. They were not fighting for each other. Napoleon sold the Louisiana Purchase so he could get the money to keep fighting the Brits. So not really.
That's a very good point. I didn't even think about that. I do have one quick question though, if you don't mind. If we have in our fight against white supremacy in America, because America is connected to so much of the outside world and it has so many connections all over the world, as part of that whole system, do you think it's necessary for our struggle to also expand outward outside of just our own country and just our own interests?
Not directly, no. Right? Because the problem is charity begins at home and spreads abroad. Right now, 100% of our focus as Black people, particularly descendants of the slaves, needs to be 100% on us, to the exception and exclusion of all other things. You can't help anybody if you're in a compromised position. You also can't help anybody else if you are not focused. The rest of the world follows our example. Black people around the world follow our example. So when we start valuing what we are and what we do and concentrating on improving the value of that, just them observing us has influenced everything that they've done so far. The most powerful thing that we could do is to get ourselves 100% rock solid together with a solid agenda and a solid code. That sends a message to everybody. You don't change other people's behavior by demanding that they change. You change other people's behavior by changing yourself, and then other people will have no choice but to alter the way that they deal with you. And because we are the cultural leaders in the society around the world, changing the way we do things is what alters the way other folks do things. We have already succeeded where white supremacy wished it could. American black culture is the black culture of the world. We are the black culture of the world. So we need to understand that that's our power. We've already taken leadership in the hearts and minds. What we have to do is make it absolutely unequivocal and without argument or debate that that's the position that we're in. We don't have to ask for it. We just need to go ahead and take it and accept what is ours. That's all we have to do. That's it.
So as we lead the fight, the rest of the world follows suit, basically.
They've been doing it all this time. You take a look from China to everywhere else. I mean, they were holding up signs in Tiananmen Square. They were holding up signs of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Not President Reagan.
Yeah.
Not President Reagan. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Not JFK. For those of you who don't know, Tiananmen Square, China, when they started killing folk out there for wanting their rights, they were holding up pictures of Dr. King. Not an American president, of somebody that was the template that they saw, the model that they saw. When they wanted somebody who they understood, they were showing you what they were lacking. That what they were lacking was not democracy. What they were lacking were their civil rights. Their God-given human rights, and they did not see a white man who embodied that. They saw one black man who did. Not Mohandas Gandhi, not JFK, not Reagan, Dr. King. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, and it wasn't an accident when they did that. It was not an accident. We've been leading up all this time. That's the reason they want you to think that you're not leading. Just us speaking sets the narrative that the rest of the world accepts. They're talking with our inflection. They're talking with our slang, even if they speak a foreign language. That's how powerful our culture is. The foundational culture of black people is as I taught you all, the culture of resistance. We have a culture of strength and resistance. And when other people feel oppressed, they tap into the most powerful culture that they've ever witnessed. They tap into our culture because ours got results. Ours was indomitable. Look it up. Ours was unbeatable. Ours was irrepressible. We got results. And they're saying you can't improve on that template. So whenever somebody is oppressed, the first thing they do is turn their cap around backwards and they get ready to squab in the streets. And when you look at them, they look just like us. They don't go out there putting on a kilt. No offense to the folks wearing your kilts. Do your thing. But they don't do that. Nobody goes out there with their samurai swords. No offense to your samurai swords. If I can buy another one, I will. I own 2 of them. If I can buy another one, I will. No offense. But let's just keep it 100. When y'all get ready to take to the streets in the 21st century, you invoke us. And it's understandable. Because we set the template and the model that everyone knows is effective. You channel us. And there's nothing wrong with that. By the way, to my brothers and sisters from around the world, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. That is perfectly fine. You supposed to do what works. This works. It works better than anything else does. Why would you choose an inferior product when your survival is on the line? You're choosing the top of the line luxury product. You damn right. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not at all. Certainly, if you want to survive, there better not be nothing wrong with it. If you plan on surviving, there better not be nothing wrong with it. Call from area code 202. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yusuf calling from D.C.
Yusuf from D.C. What's on your mind?
Yes. Dealing with the colonialization question. I have two civilizations in mind. One is the Turkish Empire and the Arabs. Also, I wanted to ask you a question in regards to colonialism.
Okay, well, slow down. Slow down. All right, let's back up and go take a look at that there. Okay, let's discuss the Turkish holdings. Go.
Okay. Well, the Turks, they went into parts of Central Asia.
And did what, sir?
Well, they changed the language there.
You say parts of Asia. Name them.
Most of the Central Asian countries like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan.
There you go. All right. Huh? There you go. All right. Let's not be vague now. There you go.
Yeah. They did that. Also, even parts of China when they went into that, dealing with the Uyghurs. Those because of they spend linguistically Turkish stock. They speak Turkish. They have some Turkish dialect as well.
Okay, when did the Turks go into Uzbekistan?
I don't know. I don't know specific dates and times. I don't know that.
All right, that's fine.
No.
When did they leave?
I don't know that either. I would.
Why did they? Okay, you say that's when they left. Why did they?
They was defeated.
Okay. The areas you just named. How contiguous? Look it up. How contiguous were they to the Turkish Empire already?
They was linked there through religious ties.
No, sir. Geographically contiguous. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is, did you need a sailboat to make it from there to Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan?
No, you didn't need a sailboat.
Oh, in other words, this is all up there in Asia, and they could just march over. So this was more an attempt to expand their boundaries, which, by the way, had been going on for centuries. So back and forth, trying to expand their boundaries and push the boundaries and so on and so forth.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So not exactly colonization, which is the thing I put up before. You can't compare that to what the Brits did, the Spanish did, the French did, the Belgians did. You can't really compare those. So these were folks keep talking about all these Asian cultures that were pushing each other around for centuries. That certainly can be described as empire building, empire encroaching, but that's not colonization, or certainly not a great colonial power. Even if they could have succeeded and held it, that's still not a great colonial power.
So would you say it would be a great colonial power in a limited fashion?
No, because let me say this again. What distinguishes the great colonial powers, because they proudly called themselves the great colonial powers, was because their reach was global, not local.
Okay, so then we would deal with like Pax Britannica then.
There you go.
Okay.
Been a while since I heard that phrase, but yes, now you would deal with something more like that. So the hallmark of being a great colonial power is that you are global. The reason why colonizing Africa was such a bellwether moment was because it required significant scientific and mathematical achievements on their part in order to get it done. That's why they refer, once again, I come back to this again, history repeats itself. When they talk about Mars, colonizing Mars, what is that going to require? Great scientific and mathematical achievements. Something you didn't have 100 years ago because of how far away it is. Anything else is just expanding your border. But we've gone beyond expanding a border. We've truly gone beyond just building a run-of-the-mill empire. We're now colonizers. We can sit up here and send a few people smack dab into the middle of somebody else's stuff on the other side of the world and take it over and make it ours. Now you're not just a colonizer anymore. You're a great colonial power. When you can go from Spain to the Bahamas or from Spain to South America and then get the resources and go back to Spain and then come back to South America again and everybody speaking Spanish. You are not just visitors. You're a great colonial power now.
Okay. So that's why in World War II, Winston Churchill said we are the people of Gog and Magog. Makes sense now. Also, I have a question for you. In regards to colonialism and its rapid spread around the world, would you say the religion of Western Christianity had solidified that type of motivation or inspiration to travel around the world?
In the words of Dr. John Henry Clark, religion has always been used by empires and lords and oppressors. It's always been used by them. It is something simple for the masses to understand and wrap their heads around. You need to do this because God said for us to do this. Well, you have no way of questioning God. All you got is this guy over here representing the government who swears, don't worry, trust me, God said it. So it's an easy thing for people to understand. It doesn't matter whether they are university graduates or whether they're illiterate, middle school dropouts. Everybody understands religion. Everyone understands it. So it's something very easy to co-opt people and recruit them with. Very easy. Sprinkle a little propaganda on it, some nationalism. Next thing you know, you got them joining your army to go on campaigns and crusades. Very easy to weaponize it.
Okay. Now, another question in reference to the Arab civilization. As a Muslim myself, I believe the Arabs were colonialists as well. They colonialized a large swath of global land and countries and
global.
Yes,
global.
Civilization. Yes, civilization.
Global.
Yes. They were very rudimentary in their encroachment on other civilizations.
Okay, give me the global. Okay, give me the global part though. Give me the global part for the Arabs.
Well, the Arabs and Islam was very similar to Christianity in reference to their message of converting the infidel, so to speak.
Okay, brother, let me try one more time here. Tell me the global scale of the Arab Empire movement. Please go, sir. Let's not beat around the bush. What is it, the global part?
Well, the global part is all in Africa. Kenya, Tanzania.
That's not global, sir. That really, really isn't. Now, if you're going to say about religion, well, that's great and that's wonderful. However, you're not describing the colonial element of religion, because at no point do you got these folks going on talking about their religion as the precursor for going into other places. They call themselves Muslims and the influence stops there. So the similarities between them and the Arabs, between them and the Arabs stop at the religious part. To the extent that you might have some that have a similarity in language, if you give them the Sudan or whatever, okay, you got that. But hell, Kenya does not in any way act like the Sudan does. You cannot compare the way Kenya acts to the Sudanese. You just can't. You can't compare the way that the Nigerian Muslims act to the Kenyans. Hell, you can't compare the Nigerian Muslims to the Sudanese. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. So yes, certainly this Arab religion found its way into Africa. It certainly absolutely did. But I tell you that pretty much nothing else did.
Mm-hmm.
America is the template and the composite of Rome. When you take a look at America's architecture, America's government, America's fixation with the number 100, America's empire building and the name and the manner and way in which it's done, you just see that basically this is just another template of Rome. Right down the line from the way that the society sees itself. Somebody said in the chat room earlier, the Roman columns. When you go to DC, they're literally replicating what they had in Rome. Literally replicating it. You don't have that in Nigeria and Kenya. No, that's not what's going on. Not really. Mm-hmm. So beyond just the religious similarity, it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's there. But Kenyans don't see themselves as part of an Arab empire or an Arab cultural movement in that way. When the Pope shows up in certain parts of South America, they close the towns down. I would dare you to show me an imam who could get that kind of response in any of those places you named. If the Pope goes to South America and tells them people to rise up with their pitchforks, they're rising up with their pitchforks. I challenge you to find me a single imam anywhere from Iran to Iraq to anywhere else who could do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true. That's true. To a certain extent, that's true. Yes.
Not a certain extent. Not a certain extent, sir. No, not a certain extent. You might find a bunch of local homeboys in Kenya or Sudan who ready to get rowdy, but they're not going to do it because an imam from Iran showed up or an imam from Saudi Arabia. That won't be the reason they do it. If that were the case, then every time the Intifada jumps off or America comes in the Middle East, they'd have already left the Sudan and been coming up there. And they're not. When the Pope told them to rise up in Jerusalem, they rose up. Okay, we're joining the crusade. Here we go. Here we go. You've never seen any such thing out of those northern African territories. There's no similarity to it. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 202. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Rob from PG County, Maryland.
All right, Rob from PG County. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so you were talking about we don't have a black lawyer class that will work for us and our interests. And something that, I've thought about that for a very long time. And one of my thoughts, I'm going to give you two, but one of my thoughts, it used to be one of my thoughts was, why in the world aren't black lawyers and black doctors and so on and so forth, why aren't they saving their money and opening up more black law schools and more black medical schools, more black dental schools for us so that we can have, more professionals that could work with us? Now, that was an older thought because now I see who they are mentally, so they wouldn't do that. They're just going to do whatever white folks tell them to do, period.
Well,
but my second...
let me answer. Hold on to your second question. Let me answer that one first because that's actually a rather expansive answer. The reason is because in white society holds their resourceful and powerful white people accountable. From the Magna Carta to the Declaration of Independence, they've held their powerful oligarchs responsible. They've held them accountable. Even if they couldn't always get at them, and even if they always couldn't get to them, it's in their culture that the powerful are supposed to submit to the will of the masses. That's the difference. That's a hallmark. And even though that's always been a bit of a fight, yes, that's always been a hallmark of the culture. Among black folk, we've never really had a rich and powerful class to hold accountable. The most rich and powerful have always been white folk, and no matter how rich and powerful a black person becomes, there's always a bunch of white folk who are richer and more powerful than him. So as a result, our culture has been to not expect that. Now we reached a point where Negroes got the ability to do all kinds of things, and we're still not holding them accountable. There's where the mistake comes in. That's the mistake. This idea that in 2024, we're not holding them accountable and they get to be free agents. And the way you hold them accountable is, you know what? The next time your ass is in a sling, don't call us. Don't call us. Don't look for us to stand up. We ain't going to do a damn thing for you. That's your ass. And if they see that happen enough times, then that gets their attention. So there's the component that we from the soil have to adopt, is that we all like to see black folk doing well, but there's some folks that it doesn't matter if they do well. It doesn't matter. And that's going to be a change for us.
Got you. Copy that. Ostracize them, right? The second one is, so you've brought up the Federalist Society in the past, and I pay attention to them and their movements as well. How would, on our side of the chessboard, how would we organize something like that that could have influence in federal government, local, all the way up to the Supreme Court? How could we put that together?
Well, I mean, you take a look at psychos like Ed Blum and the rest of their cohort of white supremacists and whatnot. That's not some large thing going on there. You have an, as I said, you have an NAACP. It's just not serving our interests in that way. They would sooner go to the court for the LGBT than for black folks. So it's like, okay, don't put your resources over there. Please understand that we're the first generation that's ever asked these questions. We are the first generation that's actually discussing having a clear, concrete, solid code. These questions were never asked before. Never. So we're the first ones to actually ask this. It might have been nibbled around the edges before, but we're the first ones to actually say, okay, we're going to ask this and we're actually going to insist on it. This is new, brother. This is new. It's new.
Okay.
And we have to understand and accept that it is new. So it's going to begin with you and me and us and we. I don't know who you know. I don't know who you got access to. Remember, it's if you can hear this message, don't ask who's in the resistance. You are the resistance. That's the whole thing.
Right, yeah.
I got lawyers who listen to the program here right now. Once again, it's one of those things. Like I say, there's no difference between me and them except I'm motivated. I could have gone on and done a bunch of things right here. There's no difference between me and them except I'm motivated. If I had a law license, you know damn well the lawsuits be flying fast and furious. Well, what's stopping them? All right, well, they got other stuff to do. Okay. And everybody got other stuff to do until the people turn on the red and blue lights behind you. Then all of a sudden, that becomes the most important thing. These other folks, Ed Blum and the rest of these psycho litigants out there, they think about us 24/7. They're conspiring against us 24/7. They're strategizing against us 24/7. They're making moves against us 24/7, not just during Black History Month, damn it. Not just on Malcolm X's birthday, damn it. Not just on Juneteenth, damn it. They are in an all-day, every-day, 365-day-a-year war against us. They're always reminding their kids and grandkids, now, we got to do something about these niggas, right? All day, every day. So they don't have to be reminded. The people who are supposedly the most powerful, they're also the most vigilant and don't have to be reminded who they're supposed to be after. Meanwhile, over here on our side, we got to sit up here and damn near take somebody hostage to get them. We got some issues over here, right? We got some issues over here, right? We got some problems over here, Oh, well, everybody wants to be a damn ambulance chaser. We got a whole bunch of folks out here who are experts at chasing ambulances. No disrespect to Ben Crump. No disrespect to Ben Crump. Hey, I'm giving credit where credit is due. He hopped off the bumper of that ambulance long enough to go make a lawsuit for Malcolm X. So I got to give credit where credit is due. He hopped off the bumper of that ambulance long enough to make it to the courthouse for Malcolm. So how am I going to down him for that? Okay, and that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is, okay, I'm not saying you can't chase them ambulances. I'm saying I'll be damned. Can we get some litigation over here when you get done with that? When you get done with that ambulance? When you get done questioning that man on the gurney over there, can we get some litigation? If it wouldn't take too much time out your damn busy schedule? While you're sitting over there collecting names next to that slip and fall sign at the supermarket, you can go ahead and file something for us. That's all I'm saying. Okay, as soon as you file for us, okay, you can get back to chasing the ambulance again. He went down the street and made a left. You can get back to chasing him now. I'm just saying, hey, just do your damn diligence. Do something for us and then go get back to chasing them ambulances. And if you miss that last ambulance, it's gonna be another one. I promise you, it will be another one. It probably won't be very long. Just listen for the siren. Oh, there it goes. Okay, hop in your Toyota and go chase him. That's all I'm saying, brother.
You know, tonight's broadcast made me think of, and this is the last thing, it made me think of the movie that Denzel played in, Roman J. Israel Esquire. How that brother didn't even make it to the end of the movie to file his complaint in the federal government. They had the white savior. I forget his name, but the guy from the Irish guy. They had him file the complaint. But thank you for everything you do, man. Take care.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 504. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. This is G from New Orleans.
G from New Orleans. What's on your mind?
All right. Good evening. I got 2 quick points to make to what you were saying about Malcolm X and your show tonight. Your broadcast tonight. And I'll try and be brief. First off, when you made the comment about how war is economics, if you go back and look at the assassination, starting with not just before even Malcolm X, John F. Kennedy, then Malcolm X, then Dr. King, and then 2 months after Dr. King, Bobby Kennedy. All of those assassinations were linked together because all 4 of those men were opposed to the Vietnam War in some way, shape, or form. And that is in part why they were killed. In fact, there's a book called The Assassinations by Jim DiEugenio who breaks all that down. So you're absolutely right that war is economics. And to the other point you made about black media, I just want to point out something. Back in 1999, there was actually a trial in Memphis, Tennessee, on Dr. King's assassination where they found that the government was involved in his murder. Nobody from the press, nobody, and that includes black media, said a damn thing about it. Nobody. And that's the problem with what we're dealing with, this old guard, who, when you have an assassination of a civil rights icon like Dr. King, and even Malcolm X now, 20-something years later, we're talking about this, when they don't stand up and they don't even report it in Ebony or Essence magazine, we don't have black media anymore. And we all got to rely on each other now. New black media is the new thing. And I'm landing my plane there.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 929. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. This is Daryl from Chicago.
Daryl from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Jason, excellent broadcast as always. You've hit the nail on so many points there. It's unbelievable. And to piggyback off that last caller there, that the situation there that we're facing, we control all the narratives anyway, and that's so true. And the things that we're doing and taking to another level by having our agenda, making sure we have a plan of action and staying on code. Those things are so powerful. We're changing everything. They look at us for every little thing. That's why Ed Blum is watching us. I mean, they're watching us like a hawk. And we all know that. But see, our thing is that we have shifted gears and not taking it anymore. We've laid down everything and said, listen, this is how it's going to be, and that's it. We're not listening to nothing. Everything else around us is falling in different directions. The narrative that has been spoken from the new black media is overwhelmingly been going nationwide. It's literally gone worldwide, period. You know, because I'm hearing stuff in other countries saying the same things that are coming from your microphone. And we truly appreciate that. I tell my nephews and their nieces, listen to what's being said, because they're in their 20s. And I said, you're that next group that's going to take this thing to the next level. Even though we're taking it there now, you're going to take it even further. And the things that you have done, going to do, and will do, is shedding a light on everything. It's opening up so much. And now they have no choice but to listen to us and give us the reparations, and they put this land back in our hands the way it's supposed to be.
Well, you know, what you think becomes what you say. What you say becomes what you do. And what you do becomes who you are. And the fact that we're talking about it and speaking about it and thinking about it, and to our extent that we can, doing something about it, that makes it easier for the next generation to take that on. And the whole goal is that they don't have to, but if they have to, at least the groundwork has been set for them, what needs to be done, and not a bunch of red herrings to chase after. I'll let you have the last word.
That's right. You're absolutely right, Jason. And the things that I want everybody to hear this tonight. If you have nieces and nephews and they have questions, let them listen to competent media, not incompetent situations. Sure, we watch all the other news shows. We have to listen to them because their situations are off kilter. They're trick bag language and the whole 9 yards. And they try to say things that aren't and things that are that they don't want to even talk about. So we have to be able to have competent media like yourself, Jason. God bless you, bro. And God bless Professor Truth and God bless Regis Nasheed for doing what they do, because it takes it to a whole new level. And yes, those young black men, young black women, they listening. They're doing stuff. They're grouping together right as we speak. And they ain't taking no prisoners, and they ain't taking no shorts.
Well, I certainly want them to have discipline for it. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 760. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh, hey, what's going on? This is Al in San Diego.
Al in San Diego, what's on your mind?
Your question is interesting. I don't think there is another country or anything like that that practices colonialism, and it's so powerful and evil that there's this dude named Cortez. Back in the day, he was from Spain, and basically he took a bunch of ships, and he didn't want to go back to Spain or something like that, but he basically took the ships, landed in Mexico, burnt the ships, and told everybody with them, like, we're going to conquer this place no matter what, like it's death, there's no turning back. And that's how powerful it is. Like when you said they don't take a day off, they take it serious. And I don't think people realize, like, they really want to conquer. They don't want to give us reparations because they want to just conquer the whole world. And I don't think there's any place besides Europe that has that mentality. And that, to me, it's powerful and it's evil, but that's how serious it is. They'll burn their ships. They'll die.
Well, I want you to understand what colonization looks like. You've all seen the picture of the white man sitting in the wooden wicker chair with the black folk carrying him around on their backs. That is colonization. That is European colonization right there in a nutshell. They're not interested in genocide. That's not what they're looking. They're interested in domination and dominance.
Yeah.
They have absolutely no interest of going on the other side of the world so white folk can work. They're coming over here to subjugate you for the benefit of what they're doing. But they have absolutely no interest in coming over here, wiping you out so white folks can start working and toiling. Oh, hell no. No. Y'all get down and carry me on your backs. That's what you're going to do. That's colonization. And you haven't seen anything like that except from one place. That's the only place you've ever seen it, and you see it over and over and over again. And there's a reason why I bring it up. Now I'll probably get into that a little bit later. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now let me get caller code 647. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. This is Derek from downtown Toronto, Canada.
All right, Derek from Toronto. What's on your mind?
What I was thinking when I first heard your question was the mentality, or what's been hinted on, what you guys have been talking about tonight, is manifest destiny. There's colonialism, but only with the European powers, and through extension, they, Canada, North America, there's this thought that even across the world, it's our manifest destiny and our right to conquer anybody.
Okay. He was there. Now he's not. Let me see if I can get caller from area code 646. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Okay. Yeah, Blog Talk still says it's connected there, but maybe it's having issues again. They've been doing that lately, so thought they were doing all right for a little while. Was hoping they could mind their manners and try to be all right for a little while there. Let me try back and try them again. Okay, brother in Toronto, are you still there? Okay. Not sure what happened there. They were there for a moment and now they're not. My Blog Talk is still showing that I'm connected and everything. Okay, it's still showing that I'm connected, but for whatever reason, only when we got something good to say, it's only when that happens. Only when that occurs. So, yeah, it's not wanting to connect for some reason. It's having difficulty doing that for some reason. So it's showing that, but apparently maybe I got so many people on here that they're like, they can't withstand it. So I'll try to see if I can reconnect it here just a moment, see if that does that. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal and Venmo. Let me send a shout out here to Mr. Donnelly. Mr. Donnelly, thank you very much for your support here. We appreciate that. And also to Mr. Tahuti, thank you very much for your support here as well. We appreciate that. We're going to go ahead and try the phone lines one more time here. Let me see. The brother in Toronto, are you still on? Hello, Radio Toronto, area code 646. Okay, let me make sure I got that turned on. There we go. Let's try it. All right, 647. Let's try that again.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
we got you back on the line here, brother. Yeah. We got you back on the line here. You all got interrupted. Blog Talk apparently gets overloaded. But go ahead. You were telling us about manifest destiny.
Super. Yeah. Well, I was just thinking. First of all, I've been listening to you since you first came out on the scene, you and Tariq, and you guys have changed my life. I'm sorry to take this detour, but I must give you your flowers. You've lit my path. You've given me an identity, a moral code, and a character, and a history, and a family to be a part of. FBI by way of Nova Scotia. I'm now in Toronto, but can you please repeat that, sir?
Okay, repeat what, sir?
Oh, yes, manifest destiny. Sorry, I was saying that you'll see the powers in South America. They'll increase their borders, like you're saying. You'll see in Asia, Japan, and so forth, like you're saying. But I've never really heard or seen any writings where they're talking about manifest destiny and the thought that no matter where I go and where I land, everything on this land, including the people, belongs to me. I don't want after I'm done with the raping and the pillaging and the killing, everything, including these people, it's like we're all one big family and the niggas is the dogs.
Well, now what you just said there, I want to dissect that psychology for a moment here, because I want you to understand everything you said, the raping, the killing, the pillaging. But sir, those are all acts of dominance. If I can rape you with impunity, I can ravage your body with impunity, I can take your personal belongings, I can kill you. Well, those are not, you think of them as three separate things, but there's just simply three different ways of doing the same thing, of establishing your dominance. So we think of them as separate acts, but in reality, they're just three different ways of achieving the same goal.
I totally agree.
And so now you understand what it's really all about there. It just looks different, but if I can rape your daughters and your sons, if I can kill you all, if I can take your belongings, I have established absolute dominance, and the sweet spot is if I can pass this down to my heirs. So in effect, I've basically got the ability to keep doing this to you forever.
And if I can target your children, because you leave them with me for 8 hours a day with this system of education that we got, now I very much ensured the path for the future for my generation. I've ensured your path and I've ensured mine at the same time. Kill two birds with one stone.
It just looks different. It's actually the same feathers on the same wing. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 646. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Jason, up and out, Long Island, Jason. Thank you.
Up and out in Long Island. What's on your mind?
I just want to say to you, Jason, thank you for all that you have done for our community, for the world, Jason. The world is listening. The world is hearing. The world, you having not only tremendous impact on your community, but you're having impact around the world. We all hear, and I thank you for your critical thinking. I thank you for your analysis. Like the brother just said before me, you have helped me become better. Thank you, Jason. And I just want to say to everyone that's listening, please, for the haters, even for the haters, support. I want all of us that love Jason, support everything he does. Support 7 a.m., support 8 a.m., support everything that Jason Black touches, support. I'm a supporter. I love you. You said when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Love you.
Thank you very much for giving us a call, brother. We appreciate that. Speaking of which, supporting.
We've grown up in a sea of white supremacy. I think that what slavery did for us is it created this sense that the white man's ice is colder, and that we want to have a seat at that table and not a seat at our own table.
At LSU, we never had a conversation about the business of sports, about the money that's made. They don't want to have that conversation, because you have that conversation, that's what creates movements.
Most people are miserable. They're depressed. They hate their life. Why do people hate their life? Because they're doing things they hate. Because they feel like they're scared they can't pay a bill.
George Soros probably said it the best, and he said that when he was broke, nobody listened to him, but when he broke the banks over in Europe, he was able to start talking to the heads of state.
Are you listening? Is this thing on? Let me tell you about the record industry. You walk into a major company, they got some of the prettiest women. You want some Perrier, you want some water. What do you need? Once they got you, it was just like that. What have you done for me lately?
A lot of those athletes in college, 99% of them will not make it to that high level NBA, WNBA, NFL.
If an artist is not a puppet, he's not going to be pulled to the top. It's the bottom line.
Friends is friends and business is business. Never intertwining.
"2024 is the year of Black empowerment, and you're going to be here for it and be a part of it. The link is in the description. My mods will post the link also in the chat room. This is something you don't just watch. This is something you are a part of. The crowdfunding is officially now open. For some of you, your perks didn't have the addresses active for it. So if you receive an update, you're going to want to check on that. If you receive that, you might be receiving an update from me that says to email me your shipping address. We're going to add that to the list because some of you may have not had it take your shipping address. So if you get an update on that, we'll tell you how to check on that to make sure, because we want to make sure that you get everything you're supposed to here. But absolutely, if you have not been to our crowdfunding for 8 a.m., if you were wondering what I've been doing, as you can see, I have stayed busy and I've stayed on it. It is bigger and better than it's ever been, an all-star lineup, and that isn't even everybody. By the way, what you just saw isn't even everyone who's in the film. So believe me, it's going to be jam-packed, and you are going to be a part of it. I can't wait to see your face in the place and to be able to put your name on this historic once-in-a-lifetime event. Let me get caller from area code 908. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'll tell you something.
Caller from area code 908. You're on live.
My name is Ishmael Bull.
Okay, Mr. Ishmael Bull, and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay, and what's on your mind?
I'm a Jersey boy, and I had a couple of things to ask you, my friend, and I do appreciate you as a black man and enlightening me to wake up. I was asleep for a long time. I went to a Dutch school, private Christian school. My mom sent me there, and I was called a nigger and go back to Africa every day. And everybody comes on here and they talk about the British and everybody else. They don't talk about the Dutch. The Dutch, I was taught, brought the first slave ship with our people, well, our descendants are from Africa there. I believe that we were here, most of us already. But I want to ask you about that, get your knowledge on that, because I find you to be very knowledgeable. And then you say the Republicans, the black people are trying to go for Republican Party now. And we were the Republican Party. I read about the history on how I know about the Southern strategy and everything. But now they're going for the Republican Party. I think that's a huge mistake. I really feel and believe that we don't have any party to vote for.
Okay, well, like I say, tonight I've been having people talk about, the Danish and the Dutch and the Netherlands. I mean, we're talking about Europe. So that's why I keep bringing up, by the way, it's Europe. So, I mean, certainly... Probably slow down. Certainly, probably the most famous of the bunch are the British and the Portuguese. You get the idea, but I mean, I'm not We're just naming a few of them here. Essentially, you can name all of them. You can basically, that's why I said outside of Europe. You can't really find the great colonial powers only originate in Europe. That's it. You don't have anything else.
Yeah.
Everybody else was just some cats doing what they've been doing for thousands of years. Folks tend to encroach on their neighbor's yard, and they tend to do that, and it gets unpleasant, absolutely. But as far as global colonization, no, there's only one place that came out of. Just one.
What is that?
Europe.
Yeah, well, you saying the Netherlands is not in Europe?
No, sir. I'm saying that you said we were naming all these other places, but my point is we don't have to name the Netherlands.
Specifying on,
yeah, we don't have to say the Netherlands because if it's in Europe, we covered that. So as long as if it's in Europe, it's already been covered. It's covered.
Well, okay, yeah, I understand, but I just want to specify that I went to school with these people, man. I tried my best to get all of these women as a black man and do that kind of thing to them. But I'm trying to tell you that. Look at South Africa. It's all those. It's the Netherlands.
Okay, man. Now thank you. Now that you named South Africa, because I was waiting for you to get to the Afrikaners. If you're really going to talk about the Dutch, I mean, their major advent was South Africa. So, I mean, that is the very epitome of colonization. What they did in South Africa is the quintessential epitome.
To bring Africans to America.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Folks, don't get so excited that you start becoming problematic. So we don't sit here and try to talk over the host. You're not that excited, so let's calm down some. Let me get caller from area code 630. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Jason. It's Nick from Chicago by way of Houston.
Nick from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Yeah, from the caller earlier where he was speaking to one of the people running for president and everything, really, when it comes down to both these lawyers and the congressional members or the people in Senate, really got no respect for them because really they can filibuster, not in the Congress, but in the Senate. They can filibuster for an unlimited amount of time. If they really wanted to stop a bill, they can make this a public thing. Bernie Sanders with the crime bill went 8.5 hours, partially on the crime bill, but mainly because of a tax thing he didn't like about it. He described every single thing that would happen with black people getting locked up, all of this, and he filibustered until he was trying to get through what he wanted to get through. They can stop these bills.
Well, brother, I mean, I'll go better than that. I'll go better than that. You've got a whole bunch of bills or a number of critical bills that come through the U.S. government every year that only pass by a handful of votes. If the Black Caucus decides, you know what, until the Democrats make our agenda the agenda, yeah, when the Republicans got that hairline vote, we're either sitting down or we can just show you one time we'll vote on the other side. And that's how you get folks' attention. Let them know, yeah, you better start taking that seriously. Or don't.
That's true.
That's up to you. I'm not a believer in warning shots. I'm really, really not. You want to get their damn attention, show them as next time a vote comes up and it's a hairline fracture to be able to win, don't be surprised if your vote count drops. Yeah, we got the Republicans by 12 votes. No, you had them by 12 votes. You used to have 12 votes over them. Now you don't.
Yeah, these voting blocks that they don't use to their power is very shameful. But I'm glad we got the black media and we're holding them accountable because they feel the pressure. They, you went up in front of Bootlick, got them on camera and everything like that. They feel the pressure. And one more thing to get off of that very quickly to address the question that you had. I don't think there's a single other nation outside of Europe that you could claim had a great colonial power. The next closest thing was the guy bringing up the Arabs and them leaving the traces of Kiswahili, because that's mainly or a large part of an Arabic dialect that's over there in Africa. But again, there's not really any customs. There's not really any residuals other than that they worship the same way, unless you just say, hey, the part of Northeast Africa that used to be part of Africa, but now they're talking about is the, quote, Middle East and Asia. But that's just the empire building. But I can't see anybody else. I thought long and hard of this myself at a separate time. I can't see anybody else doing it because they always try to play these white supremacists try to play everybody owns slaves or, other people are all equal type of thing. And then my question to them is, okay, if that was the case, what point in history did any other nation or region do what Europe did to the rest of the world? Even one nation. Just tell me. If somebody went from one side of the planet and one on the opposite side, just name me one. They couldn't. Nobody could ever name even one.
And there's a reason why I say those kind of things, because if you're going to establish your credibility on these things, you're going to have to be able to recount the history of it. And certainly we don't have to, my point is not going back 500 or 800 years. What I'm saying is if you can't show the clear through line throughout the centuries to the present day, then you don't have an argument. Forget legislation, you don't even have an argument. I got to remind black folk that, by the way, just 60 years ago, we didn't have the right to vote. We had to get a Voting Rights Act because we didn't have the right to vote. With somebody trying to tell me that slavery was over. And I can show you where it literally extended until the 1960s and 70s. How in the hell you call that over? No, I'm not going to let you argue that it's over and I can show you we literally did not have rights. Oh, no. No, you all have been hoodwinked and bamboozled, thank you, Malcolm, and deceived into getting into an argument about chattel slavery as being a part of metallic chains around your ankles. And what I'm telling you is that when we acknowledge and insist that the definition is a system of control, we have been subjected to systematic control, of which many of its features are still in place. The metallic chain feature may have been removed, and the fugitive slave law component may have been removed. But all the other components are either still in place, shout out 13th Amendment, or have been modified for the 21st century. So I'm showing you where it started from the colonial powers and put it all the way till you get here so that you understand that the system of control and its components never went away. They've simply been modified. The goal was never, on the plantations, you didn't have a bunch of black folk with leg irons. That wasn't what you had on the plantations. Why do you think Harriet Tubman could get folk to quote unquote run away? If they were wearing leg irons, how the hell they run away? No, the leg irons were only necessary to get you there. If you were a slave, for example, from Africa, where were you going to run away to? You didn't speak the language, you didn't know anybody, you damn sure stick out. So it wasn't necessary to have you in leg irons once we got you here. The leg irons were only to make sure you didn't jump off the ship before we got you here. Once we got you here, oh baby, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. You're done. And if your children have grown up and we've brainwashed them to think there is no place outside this plantation, leg irons are not necessary. Furthermore, y'all need to think, damn it, leg irons are expensive. That's just another cost. You don't want to keep investing in leg irons. What you want are people who sit and they see themselves as servants. That's the sweet spot, is if they see themselves as servants. At that point, you don't need chains. You don't need whips. You don't need anything. You're white daddy. And they are afraid of having your disapproval like a parent. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing taught us that white supremacy infantilizes people. Makes you see yourself as a child and they are the adults. It's not necessary to put leg irons on a child. It isn't necessary to shackle a child. They will do what you expect them to do because the shackles are on their brains, not on their legs. And the real thing is when we start talking differently, that's when you got them in trouble. But Jason, what about that system of control that you said that there were pieces that were already in place before? They've simply been modified. We have always been economically enslaved and controlled. While black folk were able to buy things, well, hell, even during slavery, you had some stuff that black folk could buy. But you were controlled. Black people were allowed to breathe the same way as white people, but our right to do so was controlled. And I can show you all these mechanisms of control that have simply been modified. You call it redlining, economic control. We'll sell you a house. We just want to sell you one where your people belong. Well, that's control. You can enter the industry, but we're going to make sure you only get how much as we say you should. You can get on YouTube, but we demonetize your channel, but we're going to boost Logan Paul so he can run around with his black sex toys. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I not supposed to remind people of that? I'm not supposed to remind anybody of that? And on YouTube, we'll boost Logan Paul. Don't worry about what happened in that Japanese forest. We're just going to let that go. Don't worry about that. And he can play with his black sex toys. No demonetization for him. And of course, the WWE, with Vince McMahon and his black sex toys. By the way, I'm doing that on purpose to show you, by the way, slavery's done? Really? It's done? Really? Colonization is over? Really? Huh? Couldn't help but notice the folk y'all boost. I started seeing these similarities between them. There's always this very, very acute, strident thing. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. We had Jim Crow all the way into the civil rights era, and I think a lot of people forget that would everything that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X were going through was Jim Crow. I spoke to some people about that, and they didn't realize that's what that was. And it's mainly because our grandparents around that time, they didn't speak and think to pass this on. So this media platform, everything that you're doing, inspiring other people now to have their media platforms is fantastic. And I really do believe that within our lifetimes, and I don't want to put a date on it, but I believe we are getting that check.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. I certainly want to see us have the level of control that we are supposed to have. This idea that they're going to sit up here and profit off of us and dominate us, and we don't have control of that, no. Caller from area code 804, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Cassie from Henrico, Virginia.
All right, Cassie from Henrico, what's on your mind?
Well, I want to bring some receipts to something you said. You said that they don't work, and you're absolutely right. Now, Jason, I hope that it's okay to give them this video on YouTube. Is it okay? I'm just going to give them the name of it.
Okay,
Is that okay with you?
I guess, not really, because is it somebody I know?
I don't know if it's anybody you know. I don't know who you know, but I want to bring receipts to something you said that white people don't work. What it is, I'm going to explain it to you. And then you make the decision, because I respect you and I wouldn't do anything, But what it is it's a map of the world, okay? And it will show you all the European countries that have socialized society where they don't work. And it also shows you how they're living off the world's resources. And it's in blue. All the places that's in blue, which you're going to be really shocked, is where these people get free stuff. They don't work. They get everything. And you're going to really be shocked about it.
Well, not really. I mean, that's not really, because definitely they're setting up the situation to live high off the hog, but they don't require socialism for the capitalist nations where they live the richest and the best, as long as you're willing to screw over everybody else in the meantime. So it's right up that alley. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller code 714. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, my name is Justin from California.
All right, Justin, from where at in California?
Oh, out here in the real OC, Orange County, California.
Okay, Justin in Orange County, what's on your mind?
Well, I definitely am a new listener to your show, and I respect the point of view that there's a lot of education that's lies. What?
Okay, yeah, he's definitely new around here. Where at in Orange County are you calling us from, Justin?
Oh, nearby Cal State Fullerton University.
Okay. And it's a broadcast, not a show.
Yeah.
So he's definitely new around these parts, but don't worry, we'll get him up to speed quickly enough here. And what was on your mind?
Well, what was on my mind was how there is a lot of education that is kind of been stifled within American understanding between the Black American and the white American, and how that there is like habitual acts for many people to kind of put their head in the ground and not see what's around them. Kind of like the plantation kept people to think only about what the needs of the plantation owner, the master, you know.
Okay, brother, give us the short version of it here.
dictated.
We're kind of meandering a little bit here.
So,
let me get to what your point was.
Do you think, well, my point is, do you think that we're at a place where we are because we haven't taken the time to self-educate and understand who we are and who's around us?
Okay,
Versus,
well,
like,
let's talk about
Go
that
ahead.
first of all. The short answer to your question is you're correct. No, we haven't been given that time, but you have to go to exactly why that is. Take a look at every other group of people who came to this country or, did not have our experience in this country. All your immigrants chose to come here. They had an agenda for coming here. They were not already here or brought here against their will, in which case you're not an immigrant. So that's totally different from us and our experience. Now, those people came over here in order to abide by the Constitution of the United States. They could have hopped on a banana boat anywhere in the world. They chose their destination to come here, which means they understood the rules and regulations of where they were going, and they had already submitted to that before they ever showed up. So in other words, mentally and psychologically, they were identifying as American before they ever showed up. We're the only group that you can't say that about. We didn't have an American agenda. We didn't have an American viewpoint nor an American agenda. Now, I've talked about this many times over the years, but I'll take this as an opportunity to go ahead and speak on this again. Ideally, what should have happened after the end of chattel slavery was something similar to the Native Americans, only with us, it'd be a constitutional convention for all the freedmen. Ideally, that's what would have happened, where we would have all gotten together and said, okay, here is who we are as a people, because we're not Africans. Here's who we are as a people. Here's our identity. And here is our mission and agenda in this nation. That never happened. We were just simply let loose into the country and assailed and hunted down and oppressed ever since. So we never had that opportunity to coalesce and gain a unified identity. That doesn't really start to happen until the 1970s. And we are still in the process of establishing that identity today. The work is not done. We're still a work in progress just for something as simple and basic as identity. For example, and if you're a student in college, especially in California, then this would be a very simple exercise for you to do to prove I'm correct. Go talk to 10 black people and ask them what is the black agenda. You'll probably get 10 different answers. Go ask them what is black. Or if they want whatever term they want to use for us, ask them, what does that mean? You'll get 10 different answers. You know where you won't? Go talk to the Asians and ask them what it is. Talk to the Muslims, ask them what it is. Talk to Latinos, ask them what Latino is. You'll get one answer. But with us, you're going to get a bunch of different answers because, or at least you're going to get several different answers. You'll have some who'll probably agree, but by and large, you'll get several different answers because the identity is not solid yet. So whereas the founders of the nation had a constitutional convention where they got to go into a room and slug it out over what the identity would be, and when they were done, there was a prevailing concrete definition of that identity. With the Native Americans, they were marched off in the plantations and forced to cobble together an identity and forced to do it on their own. We didn't get either one of those. We didn't get to choose a convention, nor were we forced to stay in one area by ourselves. Every time we got in one area by ourselves, unlike the Native Americans, we got bombed, we got assaulted, we got race rioted. So we've never been left alone to establish that on our own. So the answer to your question is yes, you're correct. That's a major factor in why that's never happened. If it would have occurred, we'd be in a far different place today.
And do you think that the lack of identification is linked to the lack of affirmation, unification within the country, and therefore those who are outside that you call are, like definitely foreigners, immigrants that come here, have that dream, and we there have lost it because of our inheritance?
Okay, I'm not quite sure what you mean there, but I will say that everybody who's not black has come over here with two things in mind. Number one, get as much as they can for themselves, and number two, disadvantage us, unfortunately.
So you don't think someone from Nigeria wanted to come here and have a mindset of opportunity and wealth and prosperity as much as anyone else?
Well, I mean, they certainly have to a certain extent, although the experience that we've witnessed is in the UK and in America, the first thing they do when they get off from Nigeria is look for a white woman.
Well, I know that Obama, he came, to this, well, he's from this country, but he came, he went to from Hawaii to Indonesia. He experienced the world. His father was from another country as well. And in Africa, I don't want to say if it's Nigeria or because I'm not sure, but I think that a lot of people have a mindset from their ancestry. They're taught certain things that can influence and become a great asset to this country or a great detriment, to the society if it's
okay. Well, I haven't seen the asset part, so you're doing a lot of hypothesizing, but haven't seen the asset part.
Well,
Barack Obama's okay. Slow down. Barack Obama's father, you mentioned him as an example. By the way, how interested was he in his own son's development?
I don't think I know much about how interested.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I did read
All
a book.
Right, there you go.
His
there
father,
you go.
I did read a book.
There you go.
But I don't know.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. You've already answered it. Now you can tell me about his mother, and you can tell me about his grandparents. You can't tell me about his father.
Yeah,
I submit to you that that's the extent of his commitment. Yeah, right there.
So let me ask you, because I didn't know my dad much, and I knew he was a leader of the SDS movement in Indiana. It's it's a Students for a Democratic Society. They had a splinter group you may have heard of called the Weather Underground. And the thing was, a lot of my idealization of wanting to know my father was to be very straightforward and succinct, to be like him and to understand what he was trying to do in his Midwestern town and saying, hey, Johnson, bring the troops back home, bring them back. And I thought to myself, well, today, that's probably the same liking that Obama had when he, only knew his mother from Indiana as well. A white woman, a British background, and not knowing himself.
Okay, brother. Well, the bottom line here is that definitely, we have the strongest thing if we have our own identity. Anybody from outside, they're not helping us establish our identity. Furthermore, we don't need help with that. We're already the trendsetter.
That's what we need to
We're
affirm
already the
ourselves.
one that everybody else
Affirmation
follows.
is
Okay, folks, we don't talk over the host. We don't do that. So have a good night. But we don't need anybody else to come in here and help us to establish identity. Our identity sets the trend and sets the standard that the rest of the dark world, and I meant dark world, even non-black people, non-melanated people, or lightly melanated people, that everybody else judges and weighs themselves by. So no, I don't want to see that change at all. All we need to do now is refine it and get even more hardened in where we are. But no, we don't got to do nothing else. Let me get caller from area code 347. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Caller from area code 347. You're on live.
Yes. This is John Man from New York.
Okay. What's your name again?
I would like to commend John Man from New York.
Okay. John Man from New York. What's on your mind?
John Man from New York, Manhattan, New York. Basically, I would like to commend you on your patience, your perseverance, and your like a breath of fresh air for the liberation movement. My question is this. Sister Soldier, when she first came out with this is when Clinton was running for president, she had a hip-hop lyric where it mentioned about being put back into slavery to a certain degree. And basically how everybody's worried about so-called mental illness, which is being weaponized against Black Americans, especially because at one time, as you know, it was against the law for us to know how to read, to know how to write, and that it was a form of mental illness for Black people to want to run away and be free. So because of the fact that you've been covering colonization, imperialism, oligarchies, so on and so forth, what is your explanation on pathology that is the common denominator of white supremacy in all of its expressions, covertly and overtly weaponized against us, past, near past, and present?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing.
Into the next 2 or 3 years.
No, it's not the next 2 or 3 years, the next 2 or 3 millennia. White supremacy is based on the desire of survival and the fear of genetic annihilation, as Dr. Francis Cress Welsing taught us. When you have somebody who feels that their survival is dependent on dominating you, get ready for violence and brutality to be the law of the land. And that's it. They see their survival as being contingent on how well and how good they are at dominating us. And if you were on their side of the fence, you would believe it's true. Take a look at the period of greatest European/white prosperity after they came into contact with us, and then it kicked into overdrive when they began enslaving us. So when you take a look at them, it's just math. It's like, wait a minute, the sweet spot for us was we were enslaving those folks over there. Oh boy, we've been going backwards ever since we lost our edge on that. So with that being the case, when you take a look at it, it becomes very clear. It's like, hey, see it through their eyes. Slavery was a high point. Slavery was the good old days. Slavery was the height of the society. And everything's been downhill since then because their absolute grip on power was at its strongest then. And as far as they're concerned, it's not nearly as potent as it is now. You don't have to fear survival when your 3-year-old daughter can point her finger at a 35-year-old black man and command him to die. That's the definition of dominance. It's the definition of security. You're not worried about the next generations. It is ugly. It is gruesome. And it's also very much in your favor. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 206. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, good evening, Jason. This is John calling from Seattle.
All right, John from Seattle, what's on your mind?
One of the interesting things I wanted to point out was at the very beginning of the broadcast pertaining to Benjamin Crump's defense team. One of the things that was uncovered by the lawyer that was added to his case, who was previously on Fred Hampton's case, was it was uncovered that there was a direct order given from J. Edgar Hoover to hide 9 informants that were in the room when Malcolm X was assassinated. And they said part of that data was burned with, I think it was Department of Special Services, which was like a subsidiary of the FBI, but it was on a local or state level. It was an organization that they completely dismantled. And so my point is that I think the next level of documents would uncover the tip of the iceberg and make reference to what you were talking about, the system of control that's still in place, where some of it has been dismantled, but a lot of it is still in place. And I think that's what the FBI is reluctant to release.
Oh, absolutely, because everybody focuses on COINTELPRO, but COINTELPRO was just the one we stumbled on. We stumbled on that and found out about that really by accident. So, yeah, in a lot of regards, people kind of just took COINTELPRO and we've just kind of used it as a slogan when we say COINTELPRO never ended. That's not good enough to say it as a slogan. You need to find out, okay, what specifically were its successor programs or its satellite programs or the satellite agencies that were all coalescing around it. And when you get to that, you start finding, oh, okay, if you go looking for COINTELPRO, you'll find a bunch of it with the Panthers, not very much with Malcolm, and then you keep going. It's like, yeah, we had you under a different program. COINTELPRO was for the Panthers over there. We had you under a different one. So you're filing these Freedom of Information Acts and these lawsuits and things. No wonder you can't get to that because that's not the one it's under. But absolutely right. You start following the breadcrumbs from Hoover out or the folks in power out, and then you start finding, and there were a bunch of things that they did. And what it shows you is this conspiracy was complete, total, global, and against us as a people and a culture. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Remember, J. Edgar Hoover said that Dr. King was the most dangerous nigga in America. For what reason, though? What was the reason that Hoover said that? He said that because Dr. King was able to get hundreds of thousands of black people to come to one place, Washington, D.C., right outside the Capitol building. You saw people exercising their right to peaceably assemble. J. Edgar Hoover said if you put a gun in each of their hands, you would have a standing army. That was what J. Edgar Hoover saw. If you put a gun in each person's hands who came to the March on Washington, you'd probably have the largest standing army in the country. You damn right this nigga gonna die. And quiet as kept, your president will go along with it because they are terrified of, quote, radicalization of the good Negroes who up until this point in large numbers had never acted like this before. That was the part that scared them. Then you see Malcolm able to do the same thing. You see Malcolm be able to do the same thing, and all of a sudden stuff gets real terrifying real quick. Caller from area code 617, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, this is Shell from Boston.
Shell from Boston, what's on your mind?
I'm just a little concerned about the Reparations Committee that they just set up here in Boston. First of all, they have the former head of the NAACP that's leading the Reparations Committee, and then there's a couple of, I guess, high school students that are Black Lives Matter advocates. Not that that's bad or anything. I think they tying it in with George Floyd, but they're commissioned with some of their goals right away is to.
Well, I mean, look,
not only
what they're going to do here, you're going to have folks set up so-called reparations panels, and I want you to understand the folks who do not qualify for it are going to be the ones jumping up the most. So you shouldn't be surprised to see them. The troublemakers, the dissenters, the people who are going to try to dilute it, understand going into this, they're going to be the ones who are going to show up first. They're going to be the ones who are going to jump up the highest and speak the loudest. They are, as soon as they see that become an option, they're going to try to hijack it. And they're not coming out of nowhere. They've been there.
Well,
that's why we put the spotlight on them after Trayvon Martin. You should understand what you're looking at there. These people ain't jumping up out of nowhere. When you see them talking about your new civil rights leaders and young civil rights activists, then you start seeing it. When we start talking about reparations, here those same folks start jumping up. So that's what you need to expect. You have to expect that. And no, if the NAACP is involved or whatever, no, it's already illegitimate.
Well, I think what they're tasked with to find out not only something about monetary, but the descendants of slaves, but also black immigrants coming over here today, if they deserve money.
Right. As I said, that's exactly what you'd expect from them. This is the same playbook they've been doing everywhere. It's not new to Boston. Every single place this comes up, this is the playbook. Well, let's see if we can squeeze it and dilute it and put a bunch of other people into it. And so just understand, every time this comes up, this is the format and the game plan they're always going to run. They heard you the first time when you said the descendants of American slaves. Soon as you say that, well, let's talk about racism. We're not here to talk about racism. We're discussing a lineage. Well, a lot of folks affected by racism. So they're going to try to hijack it every single time, every single place, every single forum. It is what it is. Stay on code. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 415. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Don P. calling from San Francisco Bay.
Don out of San Francisco. What's on your mind?
Man, I didn't even want to roll the dice and wait until tomorrow night to see what the topic was. This one's fire. I mean, straight up, just, your topic, cover-ups, assassinations, and reparations. Ooh, we watching it unfold, and I'm gonna try to keep it brief because, man, there's too much to unpack. Just the first one, cover-ups. I don't know how many people are alive that really that saw the movie Trading Places and really understand the depths of what that movie really was about. See, we are a royal people that have had our places changed. And that's a huge cover-up. But see, since Pluto has moved into Aquarius, all kind of truth has been revealed since then. All the stuff we've been seeing and talking about. Now, the assassinations, that was a part of trying to cover up the truth, because at that particular time, truth was trying to come out. Our brother Malcolm, Most High rest his heart. Man, the picture with him with the clerk in the car, that's iconic, and y'all better get up on yours because it ain't looking nothing nice for America as we move forward to press towards this reparations. We are in a protest of this is what you owe us and you're going to pay us. But we are the people that are ignored. And have been ignored. But what's due us is going to be paid to us.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Let me get caller from area code 929. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, brother? My name is Al, New York.
All right, Al, and where at New York?
Bronx.
All right, Al in the Bronx. What's on your mind?
Yeah, what's going on, brother? I want to touch on two things. Number one, I want to touch on the the Malcolm X situation and the Empire situation. As far as the Malcolm X, that's what I meant, Malcolm X situation. We have Louis Farrakhan, who's a master mason, as being quoted as saying that the die is set and Malcolm can't escape. So when a man says that the die is set, that means the plan is set. And since he says that the plan is set, that means he's aware of the plan. And saying that the man can't escape means that he knows that the plan is going to move forward to the point that Malcolm X will be dead with the plan. So that's clear cut. If nothing else, it gets more complicated than that. But some of the points that you brought up were just as well. Now, as far as the empires go.
Okay, well let me go ahead and address that right quick. For decades, the government has tried to put the onus on the Nation of Islam, and certainly there were some troublesome signs coming out of them all along. Absolutely. Here's the issue, though. I admonish you all, or at least I would encourage you all. There was a speech that was given by Louis Farrakhan at Malcolm X College 25 years later. I remember it being on tape. Heard it when I was in high school. And he combated that. Now, did he have me completely convinced? No, but I think the deeper we dig into Malcolm's assassination, here's the problem. The deeper we dig into Malcolm's assassination, it doesn't take us closer to the Nation of Islam. It takes us closer to the New York Police Department and the FBI. So if they were a part of it, the evidence would be taking us toward them. The more we dig, the more it takes us towards the white government. Furthermore, if the nation were involved, they would have gone to arrest them. They could have shut down the Nation of Islam all in one fell swoop. They could have asked Malcolm on one hand and shut down. Sir, the Nation of Islam is very much alive and well, sir. Louis Farrakhan was there then. He's more powerful than he's ever been now.
Well,
so no, sir, not really.
If you allow me,
y'all can't just make that up now.
Louis Farrakhan's Nation of Islam is not Elijah Muhammad's Nation of Islam.
Okay, Elijah Muhammad. No, sir. Elijah Muhammad's son was supposed to take over, and there were enough people who were disillusioned about the way that he was taking it that when Louis Farrakhan started up and said that this is going to be a fundamentalist movement in the image of the way that Elijah Muhammad did it, the folks who were more in line with Elijah Muhammad, they broke off and followed him. And his Elijah Muhammad's son, Wallace Fard, he got left behind. So no, sir. People just made a choice that Louis Farrakhan was a more faithful representative of Elijah Muhammad's movement than Elijah Muhammad's biological son.
Well,
he did not steal those people. Those people chose to go with him. And they by the way, they were correct to do so. If you were looking for a more faithful representation of Elijah Muhammad's teaching, that was Louis Farrakhan. His son wanted to do a bunch of reformations. Whether you agree with those reformations or not is irrelevant. His son wanted to do some reformations, and the rest of these folk wanted to sit up here and do something different.
Well, I'll tell you what really happened is after Elijah died, the Nation of Islam. Now, keep in mind, Wallace was the biggest hypocrite, much more of a bigger hypocrite than they accused Malcolm X of being. And they voted for Wallace to be the leader of the Nation of Islam. And that's on the record. Hello?
Okay, well, sir, if he had that much pull, they would be having Savior's Day with him and not Louis Farrakhan. So that's already settled, sir. Sir, that's already settled. You don't get to rewrite history now. It's already done.
I'm not rewriting it. I'm ironing it out.
Sir, you're not ironing anything out. People made a choice. You sitting up here trying to kick dirt on it, sir, it doesn't change what the people did. This is not about Louis Farrakhan. Sir, it doesn't change the fact that the folks who are following Elijah Muhammad chose to follow Louis Farrakhan. They had another choice, and they rejected the other choice and chose Farrakhan.
But they didn't, because Farrakhan was never the heir and never the leader of Elijah's nation.
Sir, if the people in the congregation said we have a choice between Elijah Muhammad's son and Farrakhan, and they broke off from Elijah Muhammad's son to follow Farrakhan for the fifth and last time, the people made their choice.
Okay, well, let me go on to the empire stuff.
So the people made their choice. It is the people who legitimized Farrakhan as the leader of the movement. Like it or lump it, that's what happened.
Since that's a touchy point with you, let me move on to the imperial
Sir,
stuff.
facts are not a touchy point, sir. Math is math. If you disagree, if you have some one-man war against mathematics, that's a sad commentary on your life. It doesn't make other people touchy. It just puts you at war with math, which really looks silly, but I mean, I guess if you're Don Quixote with your one-man war against mathematics because facts are troublesome things to you, that's a personal issue you want to deal with.
There's a fact. Is it not a fact that Farrakhan was under Wallace, under his leadership in the Nation of Islam?
Until he wasn't.
Okay, so he was. That means he was.
Okay,
so
okay, sir. Operative word was. How about today?
But was.
So operative word was, sir. What about today?
Okay, well, let's go on to the.
Sir,
to the
who is Louis Farrakhan following today?
He is following Scientology today.
Okay. Let me know when they do that, when they have that little roundup. All right. Thank you very much for giving us a call here. If we stay on long enough, then we get the silly folk calling in. So it's just math. The facts are too disagreeable for him. So, okay, well, I've got my own history book over here. Let me see if I can speak on that. I've got my own history book over here. Can the facts be what I want them to be? No, the facts cannot be what you want them to be. The Nation of Islam chose Louis Farrakhan. Well, they really didn't. Sir, are you serious? They really didn't choose him. Okay. All right. All those people sitting out there in the audience, all those people everywhere else, the Million Man March, but the nation didn't choose him. All right. Okay. You know, he had a part in the assassination there. Well, you know what? That's always been a long time belief there, and I will not say that the Nation of Islam was blameless in the matter, but what I will say is that the more we dig into the facts, it doesn't take us towards Chicago and the nation. It takes us towards the New York Police Department and Washington, D.C. to the FBI. It takes us there. It doesn't take us to the nation. The more we investigate Malcolm's murder, it doesn't take us to the nation. So let it go. Follow the facts where they lead, not your feelings. And if you're a person who's incapable of doing that, well, we'll go ahead and let you do that too. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go and check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m., Gentrified, Race War, all available on DVD and streaming. Go to blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank QuickSwap, Mr. Isaiah, and everyone else who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal or Venmo. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you all for tuning in live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.